time for Type 40 Live, the live stream Doctor Who magazine show across your view screen as ever on Rumble, X, YouTube and Facebook, all in front of a live chat full of fellow friends, fans and companions just like you, whatever your flavour, your era and whoever's your doctor. There'll be something to send your time rotor spinning as always this time, and England's World Cup, that may be over, but we play on here. We've got a word or two from all the players in the big game, the tendering game that is already. I know. We're going to be showing some of the BS, the red card, saying out loud what you're probably thinking. Plus, we're inspecting the very latest upgrade to the Doctor's favourite gadget. And there's lots more for one more Big Who with Type 40 Live. Hello, everybody. And there's no one here yet. Tends to be how it works. But the door is wide open. Hello, welcome. I'm Dan Hadley, Birmingham's King of the Geeks. Survived yet another heat wave and back almost in full force here to talk about more Doctor Who stuff, Doctor Who tittle-tattle chat, and banter too with the rest of them when they roll in. So we'll see who we have when we have them. I've sent out those little black obelisks from the 5 Doctors to catch whoever I can, whoever's conscious, that is. The pubs are open with people drowning their sorrows, but we'll see where we are with our assortment of bad wolves and good eggs again. As we're back, we race back to live stream to you once again. So yeah. We have never, I don't think, met up in this console room before. It's all been on shuffle, as always, and whatever pops out, just pops out, and we take our lead from there. So this is the fugitive Doctor's TARDIS, so it seems. Don't know where she is. Could be anywhere. But while she's out and about, doing whatever it is that she does, whatever, whenever, and however, I'll bring in the rest of them to have a bit of a chat. And you can chime in whenever you like, whenever is convenient, on all the various things we're going to get stuck into on this edition of the show. Whew. There's more to talk about than you think, I promise. Isn't there, Gary Akers?
Oh, there always is. There always is more to talk about. And I never have any clue as to what that's going to be. So, hi, everybody in the chat. Hi, Dan.
Mostly never.
Well, I actually prefer it that way. I want to be surprised. That way I can have a legitimate, shock expression on my face with whatever you throw out.
Practice your shocked expression for me now. Go, is it? There we go. That's decent. Well, that's good. I hope I can provide enough to live up to it. On
me
this.
Too.
I mean, it's a pretty big shock to be here, isn't it? I don't think we've ever been here before.
You know, I don't want to be negative right at the front, but that to me is the most. This is like being weird for just weird's sake, because that is the most dumb design for a door. What is the deal with that?
I think it's a pergola. I think the idea is you can sort of grow and train and trail flowers under the apertures in time. If you're particularly green-fingered, if you're like a spot. I've got a few houseplants about the place, but if that's what it's for, there doesn't seem to be any here.
I mean, here's the thing, and it seems like with most of the post Capaldi TARDIS interiors, there's no. I loved the classic series, especially like in the 60s, because it really did. There was all these things around that made it feel like the Doctor's home. And all the designs since Capaldi they're too stark. There's no sense that anybody lives there. Do you know what I mean? It's all just kind of, here's the door, here's the console, there's the roundel, that's it. It's like, I would want something on the walls.
This one is definitely based on the original console room design, but I know what you mean, because when we spend any time in the Hartnell TARDIS in particular, we catch in those early stories, that first year or so, there are little things dotted about the set. I wonder what that does. I wonder where he got that from. And with this, you don't get any sense of that. which I suppose you could say it adds to the kind of the ambivalent nature to where has this TARDIS come from, which time, which phase in the Doctor's life, or which universe it may come from, because I'm of the belief that it hails from somewhere else.
Oh yeah, this is like, all that whole fugitive Doctor, that's an alt dimension. But if you think about it, even in the limited filming space they had in the 60s, a little bit more in the 70s, it was basically just a blank slate for their imagination. Even that season where we got the secondary control room, there was so much to look at, and you got the nature that the Doctor actually lived there. And you would think, especially in the huge empty space that we just got rid of, that would be like just a blank canvas for as much imaginative things as they could think about putting, as high as they want, all over the place. What did they come up with? A jukebox that they never played.
The only thing that's guaranteed to get us burning more than a heat wave is any discussion surrounding the fugitive Doctor whatsoever. Isn't that right, Charlotte?
Yeah, and it's not quieting down on that front anytime soon, is it?
No, it isn't. Good to have you back. Have you black? Have you? You're not quite. You've been out of the sun, but you've not gone that dark, have you? You're sort of a gentle gold rather than a jet black.
Well, being on the playground and walking half an hour every morning and to get back home, it helps to get a bit of a tan gradually.
You've caught the sun, but you're still breathing at any rate. It was absolutely horrific last week, Charlotte, but we made it through after all. We're here again. How are you generally? What's going on with you?
Well, tomorrow I'm free after the afternoon, which is nice, for 6 weeks. So I'm looking forward to that. And hopefully I'm going to have some days out with friends and people I haven't sort of seen for a little while. And it's just going to be interesting also to see what happens with Who, because we're in that silly season, I think. So it's going to be what's going to happen.
I think we may have graduated slightly out of silly season and into interesting season. Things are very interesting and intriguing and angular, which is another reason why I thought this version of the console room could be very, very apt. And there is lots of room. It is a little bit uncomfortable and a little cold, I feel, but we can take the temperature up with the warming presence of the chief hooligan himself, back on the show after a few weeks away, doing all sorts. I think he's been sort of treading the boards as well and all that kind of thing. We'll find out when we bring back Luke Walters.
Yeah, causing an uproar in fandom, haven't I, accidentally?
Have you really?
Oops. Oh, no.
It happens. Trust me, it happens.
Yeah, accidentally said they should reboot Doctor Who, and I've never had so much abuse in my life. Oh, well.
Duck.
Hey.
Got to learn to duck and dodge.
Yeah. I've
Very
never
good.
been called so much abuse in my
Everybody stop abusing Luke. That's what I like to do.
That's Gary's job.
It's my thing.
big Gaz's job. Yeah.
It's like you've never been away, isn't it? But yeah, you were off directing a play, weren't you? And doing all sorts of arty things, of grown-up things.
Yeah, I forgot about that actually. Yeah, directed a play. I completely forgot.
A lot can happen in a fortnight, mate. A lot can happen.
Oh,
you survived the heat as well, though. I mean, I don't know what the aircon would have been like in one of those old theatres. I mean,
Oh, it was airconned. It was nice. It was really nice. It was really nice.
To be in. That they were literally advertising. No, I'm not joking. During the heat wave, they were advertising. Come and see a show. There's aircon.
Yeah, all the pubs by me as well were doing the same. Come inside. We got aircon.
Yeah.
It looks
really. It was just a guy called Con who was just breathing on you. It was really weird.
It looks quite icy fresh in the fugitive Doctor's TARDIS, though, doesn't it? I think she's probably got a bit of aircon in there, like an ice box.
See, I do like the round stuff with her TARDIS, but I agree, some of the design does feel like it's been weird for weird's sake.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. It's cool. I think it's really cool. I think it's better than what we got now with 14 and 15's TARDIS, to be fair. I'd be much happier with this than I would of the big old...
So would I. So would I, to tell you the truth. There's lots of little details about the set which we didn't really get to see much of when it was actually on screen. So I do find it intriguing. And speaking of intriguing, back on the show now, our latest panelist. He was on about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and people really took to him. And happily, he's agreed to come back and do some more, talk some more, fill in some gaps about his Who fandom, and offer his asides to his commentary on the various stuff we're going to hurl in his direction on this edition of the show as well. Mike Belgrave back on the show. Welcome back, Mike.
Hey guys, great to be back. Lovely to see you all again.
Hi, Mike.
Hey there, Mike.
Yeah,
it's been brilliant. Yes, it's amazing how much time you can fill in the Wilderness Years 2.0.
Yeah.
I get myself thrown off the show down. I know.
It's been about a month, Mike, but I'd swear it was only about 4 weeks.
Yeah, it's about 4 weeks. Yeah, so I've been filling my time up and reading up all the latest news. And like Luke, I've just got a load of abuse on social media for cracking a joke. Believe it or not, it literally was just a joke.
Oh, and no, you see what you've done wrong there, because we're not allowed jokes anymore, mate. There's no such thing as comedy anymore. Apparently, it's been outlawed.
It has.
I will tell you now. I have 575 comments on one post, all of them calling me a fucking idiot. Like, that's the level of abuse I'm currently getting.
And Luke, do you know how long it took me to generate those 575 aliases?
He's got all his bots going.
That's what Gary's been, folks. We've not been off air because of the heat. We've secretly been off air so Gary can make all his.
That's
bots.
right.
Yeah, we've been working hard on those insults, you know.
Yeah, they're all very original as well.
I'm going to say, if I wanted to be abused like that, I'd just go and visit my mother. So here we are in the Fugitive Doctor's TARDIS, Mike, and seeing what's on the view screen. I think this is a view screen. It seems to be showing us something, but I'm not really sure what it is. It looks like it's actually the adjoining wall to maybe the set of Mastermind or Top Gear or some other show, I think, is going on the other side of that. We're yet to discover any more. And seeing as I can't really see this set ever turning up on the telly again anytime soon, it'll probably remain that way. But over in the States, they have Doctor Who again, if they've got AMC Plus. You know, we talked about this a few weeks ago because Doctor Who was, for a brief period of time, it was homeless. There was nowhere that American Doctor Who fans could go to get their fix of the classic series. But now it is on AMC Plus. And I'd forgotten all about this until I saw the news the other day. Now, this was a report on the BBC directly from Times Square in New York, reporting on Taylor Swift, who I understand is a singer. So she got married, and there they were reporting on it on the BBC News. And then right behind her, this happy event has been photobombed by Doctor Who with a big billboard there in Times Square for AMC taking it up. Who'd have thought it?
That's great.
It's surprising, Gary. Are they just trying to remind Americans anywhere, any Americans at any time, that there was this show called Doctor Who?
You know, it would be great if Taylor Swift decided to get married like in a big TARDIS set. That would be fantastic. Until you mentioned it, I haven't thought about Doctor Who on AMC at all. It hasn't come up in my feed or anything, but I mean, AMC is a subscription streaming service anyway. It's not like you can't just like sit in your chair and start, you know, searching around and then it'll come up. But that's pretty good free advertisement.
Must have cost them a few quid to put that to install that in there. I'd have thought. Luke, have you ever been to New York? You ever been to this place?
No, I've never been to America. Well,
listen to the disdain with which he says that.
I'm all right. I'm all good. I'm all good. I'm supposed to go. That was so long ago. I'm joking. Of course I have. No, I've never been to New York. Sorry, I've never ever been to New York. Just Miami, over that way. They were selling Taylor Swift's wedding rubbish as well. Have you seen this?
I did wonder.
It's sold out. Yeah, it's the most bizarre thing.
Well, the list of attendees at Taylor Swift's wedding, it was into the hundreds, if not thousands of people. I thought, well, there's got to be some Doctor Who personalities there, Mike, but apparently the closest we could get was Hugh Grant was there, who kind of played Doctor Who in the sort of Doctor Who episode, The Curse of Fatal Death. But I don't really count Hugh Grant. Sorry, Ian, if you're watching, I don't count Hugh Grant. So there was a zero Doctor Who presence there at Taylor Swift's wedding, which you could say, Mike, that's an indicator of its declining popularity in itself.
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, she probably sat there and she thought, yeah, you know what, it's gone downhill a bit, and she's put away her TARDIS onesie and thought to herself, no Doctor Who people are going to come on, apart from that guy in The Curse of Fatal Death. Yes, I think I can imagine Taylor Swift saying that. Yeah. Anyway, I'll make some money off this old McDonald's wrapper I'm now about to throw away.
I'd like to think there was a point later in the evening, Charlotte, after the dessert course, where they were looking around, and she sort of drops her spoon and turns to her new husband and says, "Oh my God, I'm looking around, but he's not here. We forgot to invite Sylvester." Something like that.
And he could be entertainment with his spoons when they were drunk enough afterwards.
That's what I mean. Yeah, she took one look at the spoon and she, the little Scots geezer. Where is he? No.
Yeah, you could entertain, couldn't he? You could put a train on the. What did he do? He used to have the train with the fork on it, and it used to go into his genitals.
Did it?
Yeah.
Oh, that was part of his one-man act, was it? When he was
I think
the human bomb or
with Ken
whatever.
Campbell. I think it's on the first Secret Policeman's Ball back in like the 70s. There's a film of it. Yeah.
Wow, we'll have to see if we can tune in whatever this is.
I mean, it could just be like maybe I smoked too much that night and I've just made it up. I don't know. So don't hold me to it, Dan. Don't hold me to it.
As I gather, most of Sylvester's stunts did involve his testicles and small animals, or sometimes both. So
it's a big fan of Richard Gere then, yes.
Yeah, bloody hell, that's an old one. Yes, so this is the Fugitive Doctor's TARDIS, everybody. I could never quite work out what was meant to be under and over what, but I think the general idea is, when you take a look back at the entire thing, that it is the first Doctor's TARDIS with a few modifications, with extra cladding and grating, and there are nice touches here that I do like, that tie it to later models, the grating from the Eccleston TARDIS and things like that, and the more solid roundel walls, obviously from say the Tom Baker era onwards. And I do like the sort of the general lighting. This was always one of the things I enjoyed that little bit more. But yeah, it is strange, and I do like the low ceiling, because as we know, you can have too much space in the TARDIS. I think we've all found that out. We've all found that out the hard way. But yes, this is where we talk about all of Doctor Who, for better or for worse, everybody, including this logo here, which this is, again, I can't stand the logo. Loved the title sequence to this era. It was so frustrating. I thought this was probably the best of the title sequences that we've had in the new series. It's just that when the actual episode started, that I thought that things kind of went a bit sour, but there we are. We're back, everybody. We have survived the heat wave. We're talking about all the stuff that we usually talk about, and whatever it is that you want to get stuck into, then we'll find some time to accommodate that. I see there's lots of comments in the live chat already. Thank you, everybody. But we're sticking with the general sort of catch-up vibe for now, and I thought it'd be fun to go here. I thought would be pretty cool. So it's England drowning their sorrows again out of yet another World Cup in the space of 10 minutes. Everything went shut up.
On.
Everything turned sour for them. But sports fans have not had a bad few weeks, generally speaking, not least of all because it was the Wimbledon tournament, wasn't it? Now, this is the most prestigious tennis tournament in the world, and even though there was no Doctor Who alumni at Taylor Swift's wedding, plenty of them were there for Wimbledon this time. I don't know if any of you caught any of this. There was lots of photography, as always, but I think the belle of the ball was probably Jenna Coleman here, Charlotte. Doesn't she look stunning in this light green little number there?
Yeah, and considering, I feel like it wasn't that long ago she was just had a baby, unless. So she's looking very good considering she's just given birth and all of that jazz, and and also I love how Jenna is. She's probably one of the most, when it comes to public eye, companions we've had from the modern run. I can't think of anybody who hasn't been so photographed. sort of, for many reasons.
Holy cow.
Yeah, it's a very stylish. Gary's one.
Good, Dan. You're killing me, Dan. You are killing me.
Tell us what you really think, Gaza.
Oh, you don't want to know.
The people in the know about this sort of thing will tell you that, Gary, this is a lace textured bodycon maxi dress paired with a raffia handbag. I know you were probably thinking that anyway,
Well,
Gary. I know
that works for me.
Yes, definitely.
That works for me.
Yeah, she looks absolutely
She's
beautiful.
luminous.
This is what you call style, I think. The usual suspects were there, of course. David Tennant was there in a pair of... Now, those sunglasses that David Tennant is wearing, they probably cost more than Jenna Coleman's entire outfit. That's the truth of the matter, Mike, I'd say.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah. I mean, yeah, they just look like a pair of things that you get off AliExpress. But yeah, they're probably like was it like 10% the material and 90% name? What do you reckon? Yeah.
Oh yeah, there'll be some designer label.
Yeah. Notice how none of us can think of a designer label here because we just like Doctor Who.
Well, sunglasses, Ray-Bans.
We're all sitting there thinking, I hope somebody else says it because I can't think of any glasses now. I know. Specky Four Eyes. It's probably a very expensive Specky Four Eyes pair of sunglasses. There you go.
Ray-Bans are the only people I know who make sunglasses, Mike.
That's the one. Yeah.
Now, David Tennant looks very peaceful and sort of relaxed there. That probably didn't last for too long. He was there with the wife. So there's Georgia as well, escorting David Tennant into the event. Yes, so they were there in the Royal Box, believe it or not, to watch the men's singles finals with fans on hand, I think, to keep everything necessary as cool as possible. And they are quaffing down whatever that is as well with
Okay.
Georgia Tennant does love Instagram, Gary. That's where a lot of these images come from as well. She's quite active over there.
Her glasses are something.
Bigger than her head, aren't they? At least twice the width of her head, I think. And it says on the cup there, please help us reduce plastic waste. Yes,
Is that, were those, now, are those like glasses they were giving away at Wimbledon, or are those the couple's own private like little thing?
Yeah, they probably had them printed themselves and sort of took them in. But again, we've got more photo bombing going on there, because if you look just behind, that woman also in the sunglasses, right between the two of them, is also a Doctor Who guest star, Charlotte, from an episode about 12 or 13 years ago. Do you recognise her?
Is that Harriet Harman?
Celia Imrie.
She was her.
Yeah, you're quite right, Luke. It's Celia Imrie.
Oh, right.
In the Matt Smith episode, what was it called? The Bells of St.
Yes.
St.
Well, to
John,
be fair,
yeah.
she was the woman who was like the head of the evil group, and then the great intelligence sort of controlled her.
That's right.
Haunting performance.
As the White Guardian this time, Luke, it seems.
Don't forget, David Tennant and Celia Imrie and Jodie Whittaker are all in Saint Trinians too. So, I watched it the other day. I was like, oh, there's loads of Doctor Who alumni in this, and Elon Musk's ex-missus. So there you go.
And she was in Thursday Murder Club.
She was.
Yeah. It's like we got no actors in the UK, Matt.
No.
An ever dwindling number, I think. Yeah, there's sort of 12 that are constantly working, and Celia Imrie is definitely one of them. She's just done more Big Finish with Sylvester McCoy as well. So yeah, she's got a nice little gig over there, doing plenty of Big Finish stories, popping up as various different characters. And there she was at Wimbledon. Of course, this being Wimbledon and this being largely an excuse to prance around in all your finery, yeah, Ncuti Gatwa was there too, dressed as an adult as well. So he was there in the second week on day 8, looking quite sharp here in this sort of pale grey check pattern suit, Gary. Ever since he stopped playing Doctor Who, it's like he's grown up about 10 or 12 years. You don't see him walking around acting a dickhead anymore with his dressed like a schoolboy or a schoolgirl for that matter.
Well,
yeah,
I don't believe
his chest out, doesn't he? Yeah, he's just like half naked half the time, wasn't he?
Yeah. I don't believe this is really Ncuti Gatwa, because this guy's wearing a shirt.
Yeah, I was thinking.
if he takes his jacket off, there's 2 holes in the shirt for his nipples.
I have no doubt.
Or one for the abs, just to show off.
No,
the
that
abs.
is very stylish, and actually for being like one of these like outdoor, very sunny, probably, not too hot but not too cold event. What he's wearing makes more sense than whatever all dark that
Tennant
was wearing, because I wouldn't wear that like if you're going to be outside in the sun all day.
Yeah, it's a good show, actually. It's a good show. I just realized I'm showing my driving license. Sorry, I just realized I had my phone there. I'm showing my driving license. No one dox me, please.
I don't know those comments, Luke. You never know what's going to happen now.
It's just Gary.
But I said this during his run. His doctor should have had a suit as his definitive outfit.
Evidently.
He really should have had like an old suit, like a sharp one, but very clearly styled from an older era, and he would have just.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, a good zoot suit, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh no,
that's what I'd have put him in.
Or something more, not quite a zoot suit, but just something that's a bit more English, a bit more older, but still sort of sleek. Because look at those pictures, that's what he should have looked like.
Yeah, like from the 40s or something. Yeah, you're right.
Yes, that would have worked. 40s.
He's always, if you know, he's always got at least one hand in his pockets playing with his small change. That's not a good sign. Notice he's waited until everybody else has gone, but there he was there with a companion of sorts there. So I don't know who that is. I think she's an actor. I think I've seen her somewhere, but that was his +1 for the occasion. Again, in the sunglasses. I can't say I blame any of them. And that wasn't it either. There was another. So if you...
And no, I'm not focusing on who's sitting behind them. I just want to make that totally clear.
Glad you said it first.
Behind.
It's the Mitchell brothers.
No, if you look closely as well, if you scan the crowd, you can also see there Andrew Garfield as well. Now, he's sat in front of Jennifer Lopez and Tom Hiddleston. And he's got a bit of grey coming through, Andrew Garfield there. So he's starting to age very distinctively. But I do wonder if he managed to catch up with David Tennant and they could have had a bit of a reunion there for Evolution of the Daleks. That wasn't it, all the way back in 2007, nearly 20 years ago now. Good God, Luke, time flies. Even for Andrew Garfield, Spider-Man.
I literally just watched Daleks in Manhattan and Evolution of the Daleks like 2 nights ago. And I really enjoyed it. Really, really enjoyed it. But now he looks like he's just about to go play Jesus Christ Superstar.
That's right.
Even in white as well, he's looking very, very angelic. Very.
He's going to be in the He's going to be in the Odyssey 2 if they ever make it.
Oh.
Good to see that Saturday. Can't wait. So excited.
Let us know if you were going to put Andrew Garfield in the Odyssey 2. Who would you have him play? Spider-Man, probably. I was Spider-Man. So that's our catch up there on the players, the off-court players at Wimbledon this year. Let us know who you spotted as well. I've got no idea who won Wimbledon. Of course, I haven't. It's amazing that I managed to keep track of there being any football on, never mind anything else. But yeah, this is our sports section, or what it tends to be. So yeah, I thought we'd have a bit of a catch up on what was going on. But now that's all out of the way, all the back and the forth. Let's go and catch up with those in the live chat and find out what's been keeping them bouncing while we've been away.
Go on then.
You're watching Type 40.
Woo!
You are watching Type 40 there, so says the doctor himself. Atty Tree, Mr. Matt is in the live chat, looking forward to tonight's show, keeping cool on sunny side planet Earth. And we've got lots of similar comments here from people sweltering with us over the last week or 2 or 3 or 4. Evening, everyone, says Farsight. We've got a good evening from sun-kissed Wigan, courtesy of Stephen O'Neill. And our mate Garbage is back too. Hello, chat. Hail to one and all. And an ahoy, shipmates, from Crimpling Doubloon there. So it's good to see lots of the regulars lining up to catch up with us too. We've got Stephen Bradikin as well, Charlotte, and lots from Stephen saying hello to just about everybody. But that's how friendly it tends to be in our live chat. And hello, folks. A happy Thursday evening to all, wherever you are in the universe from Rose. So it's catching up with old friends here, Charlotte. Isn't this nice?
It is.
And Gary.
Hi, everyone. I'm feeling crabby,
Yep.
says Tom from T-Dwarf Productions, because we are in my star sign, Cancer the Crab. So yeah, I don't go in for any of that horoscope stuff. I don't know when we leave one thing and reach another. Got no idea, Mike. Are you up on that?
No, not at all. No, I mean, I'm not saying I have a go at it, but like I feel like sometimes I'm a bit like Sherlock Holmes. He didn't know that the Earth, the Earth revolved around the sun, kind of thing, and he just like, I'm like that. I thought I can't be bothered with my brain power on it. That's more that kind of thing, I got more important things to do, like like listen to Red Dwarf and Doctor Who, in my car.
Makes a lot more sense, doesn't it? Paul Bowler says, "Warp, warp, Gary, warp, warp." I don't know where he's going. He's only just got here. Come back, Paul. Walk back if you can. And Woodhouse122 says, just having a flick through the new Doctor Who magazine, Patrick Troughton special, when I realised that Type 40 was on. That looks pretty good, doesn't it? I think it's called Doctor Who Legends, the new Troughton special, to mark 60 years since he took over the show. I might try and pick that one up, but it's become so hard to find, Gary. The regular issues, never mind the specials.
Yeah, I usually wait until a couple months go by and then they make their way over here. But yeah, I definitely want to get that one. That looks like a good one.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Needless to say, we've kicked off the argument about the Fugitive Doctor in the live chat. Stephen Braddock says defiantly, the Fugitive Doctor is not pre-First Doctor, end of, and then a big old flex there from Stephen. I couldn't agree more. Draconians are green-fingered, according to Crimpline Doubloon. So if I want a tip shot, I'm terrible in the garden. You should see the state of my garden, front and back. Don't know what I'm doing, absolutely awful. I could always ask Crimpline Doubloon or just grab the nearest Draconian.
Because they're so easy to reach and just to phone up.
Yeah, let us know. Maybe they've got their own sort of website or socials I can leap on. I don't know. That door design is for a Tholian, says Fly Highland. That's a Star Trek reference from Fly Highland. You showing off, I don't know. People do seem to like that TARDIS interior, Mike. That's a nice one, says Adrian James. We've got, the sense of being lived in was gone. I mean, a lot of people would say that had gone by about 67, to tell you the truth, but yeah, I don't know. I think it goes away and comes back, doesn't it? Some of the console rooms are better than others. But it's because they were always throwing it together in such a rush. Ian Scale says, I actually liked it when we saw more of the crew actually living in the TARDIS. The early to mid 80s was great for that, as well as the 60s. Now, the
word, Dan, that popped to my mind when thinking about all of the console rooms is the ones in the classic series, no matter which version, they all had a charm to them. And if you think about Shooties or Jodies, heaven help us, there's no charm to them anymore. It's just, like I said, weird for being weird's sake and a lot of stuff, but there's just no sense of what I want to travel in this one. There's no, all of the sense of kind of whimsy and charm have been gone, have been stripped away just for the sake of making it look like, to me, this looks like an Apple store.
I think some of that is honestly, as the modern run went on, I feel like the story spent less time in the TARDIS. Like, it was literally just there for you to open your episode in, and then it was like, as fast as possible, let's get out, let's get on to the planet or the council estate or like wherever we're going for the story. And it's just sort of,
in all fairness, that's what it is for, really. I mean, the police box is a magic door, and the TARDIS set itself is there for people to go, ooh, and just to provoke a little bit of mystery so they could look at a few sort of computer readouts, work out where they are, and after that, they don't really need to know anything else. They find out the rest by moving around their environment, don't they? But I'm fascinated with the TARDIS.
Do that. Like, it actually spent some time in the TARDIS, and I quite like those stories.
Yeah, it's like an Earth shock, isn't it? Where you see Edric's bedroom.
Yeah, little things like that. Well, again, it wasn't in the original series sort of premise to develop even the regular companion characters too much. And it was just a case of, okay, they go in the box, they get out the box in between adventures, and that's that, as sad as it may be. Make space for Paul McGann on that poster, says Black Love Studio. Yeah, that's Chris. I think he's talking about the Times Square one. I don't think they've got the rights to that on AMC. I wouldn't have thought they have, but I could be wrong. Thank you, Chris. Thank you. Good to see you. We've got Jess Corbin in the live chat as well. We've got Funky there who says, don't forget Sylvester's nails up the nose. Now, that was his party piece, wasn't it? He would get, was it 9-inch nails?
Yes, he did. Yes.
Them up his own nose?
He would hammer them up the nose. He would. Yes, I remember that now.
Extraordinary. And Mark asks, is there news on a new Doctor? Oh, God. If you ever want to turn up the heat, start that conversation again. We can't give you any hints about who could be taking the lead of the show because it's so far into the future. But we can do what we will, whatever we must, whatever is in our power to bring as many opinions possible for you in between, including this guy. Yes, he's made it back after all. I'm happy to welcome back Mr. David Milling.
Hello,
Hey.
hello, Mike. Hello, everybody.
How's
nice
that?
To meet you, Mike. How's that? I've got the cricket on in the background, so if I'm distracted, they're playing in Wales.
Don't mind us.
Sport, boo.
Yeah. Well, you've missed the sports section, so I hate to say we've done tennis,
brilliant.
we've sort of done football as well.
Don't mention the cricket. Do not mention the England cricket team. Just move on.
I've got no intention of, but I was going to mention you. How have you been, mate? Because I haven't spoken to you for a couple of weeks. How are things on Planet David?
Yeah, it's a little. It's only a balmy 26 degrees here now, so it's a little less. It's actually quite a cold day compared to how it has been for everybody else, I can imagine. But yes, all is good. I had a lovely evening with my son. I found out the reason he wanted to spend time with me is the fact that before he goes on holiday with his mum each year, I always give him some holiday money. So he realised. Cottoned on to that fact.
50
50 euros in hard cash.
Oh, you got
he sort of cottoned onto it. So there was I thinking he wanted to spend time with me, and it was just a case of I kind of gathered that you always give me some holiday money. So I thought you reptile, but I admire his sort of like detective abilities on that one. But yeah, all good, can't complain. Yes, wonderful. I went to see the Minions new movie last week as well, and I laughed
I thought you meant that was your local cricket team. They're called the Minions or something.
We might set that one up. But yeah, I laughed my cock off all movie. It was fantastic.
Well, I'm glad you were able to recompose yourself in time to come back here. Something that's bound to keep that smile fixed on your face, David, is all talk of Circuit Breaker.
Yes.
Now, I know that you love all this talk. There's nothing you can't get enough Circuit Breaker, can you?
No, it's just the various different wiring diagrams sort of trigger off a bad experience for me.
Even the logo is a bit of a sort of visual puzzle, isn't it? Yeah, I know. But it's up and running, so it's going. Everything's sort of happening, although you'd never really know it because people are talking about the Circuit Breaker event. But the one thing that they're not talking about is any of the content of any of the story components whatsoever. So it started with that text story a couple of weeks ago, which I did read, and I found it. Well, I wasn't very engaged. Let's put it that way. And the comic came out about 10 days ago. There from Titan. Several covers available for that, and it's due to continue next week with another comic strip adventure. But in the meantime, they've announced this new book. Well, they've given a title to a book which we knew was on the way. It's called The Kaleidoscope, and it's written by Joe Martin. Yeah, of course it is. It's written by Joe Martin, and it's out later in the year. And they've debuted the cover artwork here, which is by Lee Binding. And this is what has got people talking, because the Doctor can be seen not only with the fair Martha Jones. Always great to see Freema Agyeman back anywhere near Doctor Who. So it's nice that Martha is there, I suppose, and the silence in the background. The silence, they're coming out of the sea, doing a bit of a Sea Devils thing, Charlotte. I've only just noticed that. So all of that's going on, but everybody's attention was immediately drawn to what Jo Martin's fugitive Doctor is holding. And there's, so she's been given her own sonic screwdriver, Charlotte. At long last. Have you seen this? There's even a promo video and lots of animatics and things.
Well, yeah, I'd seen this because this has caused issues that she's got a Sonic.
It has.
Because there was sort of the running theory with Jo was that she was either around Hartnell or around Troughton. Like, that was where a lot of fans in their head were placing her. And to this day, on screen, they've never yet told us where she is, but that was always the fan sort of logic. And then in this comic, I think it was one of the first comics or books, they gave a really big indicator that she is pre-Hartnell, if you are to follow what the circuit breaker stuff is doing right now. Because she didn't know what a Dalek was. She'd never come across one before. So that makes you go, well, surely then she can't be after Hartnell. So she's somewhere before.
So this is where things get thorny, because I was under the impression that she'd had at least portions of her own memory wiped as well to be used by the division in whatever they were trying to get it. I mean, none of that made a lick of sense any time that she ever... But I always got the impression that her memory was confined in the way that the mainline Doctor's memories were confined too. So they'd forgotten her and she'd forgotten them.
Well, here's the problem, because you're right, she's basically, we met her as having amnesia. That's how we got introduced to the character. And because of the division and all the stuff that they did to her, then that's why it added to this whole sort of, she's a mystery factor. So that's why I said the logic was she's either around that, but if she's never met a Dalek, and that is just purely because she's never come across one, then she can't have a Sonic, because the Sonic got shown in Troughton's era for the first time in Fury. And I just think, once again, this is the BBC trying to have their cake and eat it. Because if they would have just set her as a future incarnation with no number, like a Valiard, then you could do whatever you wanted with her. You could give her a Sonic, you could give her a TARDIS, you could pretty much not have any sort of confinements. But because they're sort of really heavily hinting she's part of Classic, and even pre-Classic possibly, then you can't also, in that same breath, do something like this, if you care anything about canon. And I just think
It's been so long, Charlotte, since I watched any of that crap that I can't remember how overtly any of it was stated or not. But one thing I was always left with the impression that her memory was wiped after as well, or whoever followed her, they had their memories wiped. You know, I don't subscribe to that pre-Hartnell crap under any circumstances at all. But I feel that with this event, with the attention that's been put into it, with the TLC, that aspects of it has been given, I feel I should commend them for making a better job of this than they have the previous transmedia events. And I do think this is a nice little design in and of itself. We can see that they've made a few of them here, and here they are set into a box, and we can see one of them is lit up. So I would imagine this will be used across the various media and as part of the story. And obviously, because I haven't read the book, I don't know whether it's referred to as a sonic screwdriver, but it's clearly a sonic device of some kind that obviously she's doing the thing as well. So it enables the character to be visibly appearing to look a little bit more like the Dr. Luke, because I do think that a major problem a lot of people had with the character is that when we first met her, she was this, not only did she look and sound unlike any version of the character we'd ever seen before, making it impossible for us to believe that she was the Doctor, but then she was carrying this massive gun rather than just with a Sonic in her pocket or something like that. So I think this is an attempt to legitimize the character and to make her feel more in line with, regardless of where we feel she may come, just more in line with the character that we recognize. What's your thoughts, Luke?
Yeah, absolutely. And doesn't that Sonic look like a gun now? It's pointy. You can tell.
Looks like a screwdriver.
Doesn't look like a it looks like a gun. No, it does. It's a very nice Sonic. Don't get me wrong. It's probably one of the better designed Sonics we've had.
I'd say so.
Yeah, the Sonic is part of the Doctor Who iconography, isn't it? It's part of the tapestry. So for Joe Martin's Doctor to just have a gun, it does seem wrong. I know it does break canon, and I know that it's insinuated that, oh look, I've got the pen clip just like the Troughton one, but yeah, it seems more likely now they're trying to push her from pre-Hartnell to season 6B
somewhere else.
Yeah, that in between Pertwee and Troughton. Why did I go the wrong way around then? Which is bizarre because now we've got the colorization of the war games. We know that Troughton definitely regenerated into Pertwee, and that is the canon version, and the War Chief is the Master. So, and also Joe Martin met the Daleks in Big Finish, and she didn't know them then. So, how many times is her Doctor having the memory wiped?
Oh, nobody's comparing notes. This can't be good. I've only read that first text story.
The brands.
I've only read that first text story, so I don't know what else has been established. I mean, Charlotte says there's been talk of the Daleks and all this kind of thing going on already. So I'm not gonna touch any of those sort of controversies, because it is expanded media at the end of the day, and lots of it contradicts itself. But obviously, contradicting the main series is somewhat foolish. But looking at just this as a design, I agree. I think this is the best sonic screwdriver we've had since Peter Capaldi's blue one. And to be honest, I thought that was somewhat unwieldy, David. I think this looks like something, again, you could just, the doctor that we recognize would just sort of sling it in the pocket, and you can just reach for it, and you know how it works. You just twist the sort of barrel. So to me, this does look like a classic sonic screwdriver.
It looks like a screwdriver. It looks like a screwdriver, which is what the sonic screwdriver should be. It even to the raised bevel bit halfway down in the middle. It's like one of those ones that you push down and hope to fix everything. For me, I have no issue at all with any of this. It's just a wiring diagram that triggers me, as we've previously established. And I want to come back at Charlotte, if I may, with a bit of a devil's advocate type thing. How do we know the Doctor didn't have a sonic screwdriver before he saw it in Fury from the Deep? How do we know he just hadn't mislaid it in the TARDIS?
Well, we never saw Bill use it.
We don't have to see the Doctor use it. How do we know that they didn't? We don't know that he didn't have the sonic before we saw it. So because he just reaches into his pocket and says, "Oh, here you go. This is a sonic screwdriver." So the fact is, I feel that sometimes, and Luke did a fantastic video on Cinescope, his other channel yesterday, about the issues of lore, of 60 years worth of lore, and how we get bogged down in it. And I do feel that we do get bogged down in canon and lore and everything like that. And I think the Sonic is a prime example of it. Just for example, when did the Doctor first have two hearts in Spearhead from Space? When was the first? When was the issue of the limit of regenerations mentioned in the Deadly Assassin? And we get these things dropped in, and they are we've got two hearts.
No, David,
since when?
I think there's a lot of truth in that. I think there's a lot of truth in that, in the way that this series rolled out. Because again, these things, just like whatever doesn't or does happen in the TARDIS, these are the things that happen in the corner. He just happens to have some device. There's been lots of devices and instruments that the Doctor has pulled from his pocket and he's used them once or maybe twice, like Sylvester McCoy's Doctor had the abacus. We never found out where he bought that, for example. and with the same, and we haven't seen it since. But if he was still, if for example, Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor was still using an abacus, Mike, we might not have, maybe he'd have said more, but maybe he wouldn't. And with this, I'm never really sure. I haven't got total recall of everything that's been said in every episode of Doctor Who, particularly the black and white ones and the ones that only exist as recons. So I'm not sure. Has the Doctor ever said that, I personally invented this at any given time? Not that I can recall. I'm not saying that he didn't. He might have done, but I can never really remember. To the best of my knowledge, the Troughton Doctor just pulls it out of his pocket one day. Mike, is that what it is?
It's exactly, that's what I was thinking. You've hit the nail on the head. I was sitting there thinking to myself, when he did pull it out, did he go, "Oh, look what I've just invented, it's a called A," or is it like, just something, because where I work, I got like tons of rubbish in my bag, and sometimes the kids are laughing because I'm looking for something and tons of stuff comes out, and then I put it all back in again. And I think it's a bit like that. And I think part of the issue obviously is, I think because Joe Martin, the fugitive Doctor, but I'm with you, it is a load of crap, and I don't really subscribe to it. But she has had her memory wiped, and the Doctor has no recollection of being that Doctor. So actually, even if the second Doctor did go, "Oh, look, I've invented this," he's got no idea that he actually had one when he was the fugitive Doctor. So actually, there is a reason why she's got it, and it's the reason why she's met the Daleks before.
I love Jo Martin, by the way. She's an absolute sweetheart.
I think she was good. Don't get me wrong. I thought she was bloody fantastic. I think, for me, it was a crying shame that they used her like that. Why wasn't she there instead of Jodie? That would have been the better Doctor. I think we all agreed on that one. We all went, right, this program's not been very good. And then suddenly we saw Jo Martin. We went, hang on, what are you playing at? That was the Doctor that we could have had instead of her. So
I love Jodie. So
with this look, everything that she did and said couldn't have been less like the Doctor. To me personally, this is the total opposite of the character which I felt that I've been watching all my life, particularly being sort of the gun toting and all the swagger. To me, she just feels like Big Mo from EastEnders with a big gun and a loud shirt. But I like the fact that the designer, James Sutton, the designer and engineer who's worked on this Sonic, has brought in some of the pattern from that gun into the top end of the screwdriver to tie it visually to the character to some degree, or maybe tie it to the division, because I think that those guns, doesn't the girl who's got her back to us in this picture, who's dressed with the skull cap, she carries one as well. So if the guns were issued by the division, maybe this instrument was as well. I don't know. Maybe we'll find that out if we're brave enough to hold the course with Circuit Breaker. I don't know. What do you think? Are you following this at all, Mike? Are you reading any of the Circuit Breaker stuff?
I said I wasn't going to, but I think when you started chatting about it, I thought, I'll give it a go. It's free. It's on the BBC website. And I'd be honest with you, I did go through it with quite a fine tooth comb. And I'll be honest with you, it left me a bit cold. I felt that I knew what it was going to be about before it started. I thought there's going to be some big thing where the whole universe is going to be threatened. And Jo Martin's going to have to go through time and somehow do things to stop all these things from happening. And that's literally what is happening. And the idea is that she goes to, She goes to different stories, like the Sontaran experiment, and she has to do something to make sure that story goes ahead. And it's a bit kind of, I suppose, Back to the Future, isn't it? It's that kind of premise. Kind of trying to go back to make sure the future works properly and try not to interfere too much.
Controversially, Back to the Future 3 is the best one. Just throwing that out there.
I love all three of them.
Luke Walters, there's only so much of your heresy I'm prepared to accommodate here on this show.
I've never seen it. I've never seen it all the way through.
You got to, brilliant. But one thing I would say though about Circuit Breaker, my initial reaction though, because I spent about 2 hours looking through that. I read it like a book. I thought, might as well. It's free. It's Doctor Who. It's part of part of our Wilderness Years 2.0. And I thought what it got me is we have this big multimedia platform event, and I thought. Yeah. But that's exactly what the Avengers did, and it was like, okay, Steve Rogers, go back in time and put back the stones, and then he comes back as an old man, and it was just done as a conversation. And I thought, we're dragging it out, and I thought it's got to have some better stakes in it. I think it's got to have some something's going to happen, like an assistant or somebody that you really like is going to have to die or something for this to actually be interesting. I don't know. I don't feel the stakes are high enough. I don't feel the universe is going to explode again. It's not exciting enough for me. And going back to stop all these stories, making sure these stories happen is not exciting enough for me. I feel very cold about it at the moment.
It does sound more like a sort of a quest or escape room sort of thing in word form. But again, it's early days for this. We shall see. But yeah, this cover image is quite arresting. People noticed it immediately and started asking the questions. I've just noticed as well that those marks on Martha's arms, they're the marks that they make in the Silence episodes of the Matt Smith era, Charlotte. So there's that. All these little things. That's the new book, The Kaleidoscope. But yeah, in this image, of course, they're trying to line the character up with the version of the Doctor that we've seen throughout the classic run, Charlotte, as if they're never fully dressed without their sonic screwdriver. Because to a generation of viewers, they're sort of inseparable. It's like Harry Potter and his wand. I think that's the nearest approximation I can think of. And of course, the sonic screwdrivers have been very marketable over the years. I think most of us own at least one or two of these toys. Yeah. So again, I don't think this is going to make any great difference to Circuit Breaker in the long run, Charlotte. But just going into that character a little and working on her ever so slightly where they can, I don't know. I have no idea where it could be going if the character will have a life beyond Circuit Breaker and beyond the odd Big Finish story. I don't know if that's even possible for any of this. But I think creative people are working on this, and I feel I should give credit where it's due for a nice design.
No, I agree with you. I think giving her a Sonic is to try to make her more legitimized as a Doctor. Because like you said, it is a part of just the iconography now of what you recognise a Doctor as having. And I do like the design. Like, I do think when I did see some of these images, I was like, it's not overly designed, which is nice. It's not sort of like, it doesn't feel to me like somebody's designed a toy. But so which is nice. And it's sort of got its own flair about it, which is also, I think a Sonic has to feel like it belongs to the Doctor. For good or bad, it has to sort of connect in that way. And like you said, it's sort of connected to a gun a bit. So you can tell that they've clearly done some thought has gone into this. And I do think a lot of this is sort of to make Jo feel more fuller, to make the Fugitive Doctor feel like more of a character and not just sort of a shock, sort of, oh, let's flash her on the screen and be a look mysterious and then she disappears again. Like, that's how she's been treated. And I think if this is done well, it might help to have the character sort of have a bit more life. Because I've said this before, Jo is incredible with the fans. She's always warm, always welcoming. She does the circuit. She has for the last couple of years. I just think, once again, though, they need to... The thing that I think they should have done for this is filmed 1 or 2 scenes with Jo.
Agree more.
And have that as your first thing, like on the YouTube. Put it on the YouTube web, on the site, and put it out as, here's your sort of trailer almost, but it's a bit more than a trailer. And I think that would have made this work a lot better.
Charlotte, transmedia events are never going to work. They're never going to have that impact. I don't know if you agree, Gary. I don't think transmedia events are ever going to really get their hooks into anybody while they bookend them with text stories on the website. Even if they're free, I think people, if they see more, for example, if Night of the Doctor with Paul McGann, if that 10-minute minisode, whatever it was, I think it was 7 or 8 minutes, something like that had led into a transmedia event and then concluded with another similar 7-minute thing, I think people would have lapped that up.
Yeah. To be honest, I've found it personally almost impossible to generate a single bit of interest in this character. I mean, all I really need to know about this character is that Chibnall himself admitted when he created the character that he had no idea what the background was, no clue about where she fit in the chronology. No idea why that TARDIS would be buried there. Nothing. It was basically just done to kind of change things up without any kind of other foundation. For me, that's all I need to know. You know, it's like, well, and all the rest of this looks, as Charlotte alluded to, you know, now that you know, just now trying to scramble around and try to provide some kind of foundation. It seems like the way they're doing it is by throwing as many tropes as possible. It's like, oh, you know, here's Martha Jones. Oh, here's the silence. You know, here's this, here's that, in this desperate grab to legitimize all of this.
That's something that's afflicting all of Doctor Who expanded media right now, I feel. I'm happy to say we've been joined in the live chat. We've been joined in the live chat by James Sutton himself at the Sutton Workshop, who has dropped this into the live chat. Now, James is the designer, an engineer who's worked on this sonic screwdriver and lots of other things too in the Doctor Who expanded universe. And he simply left this quote here: Jamie, what's that, Doctor? And the Doctor says, it's a sonic screwdriver, never fails. There we are. Neat, isn't it? All done by sound waves. Now, what have we got here? Oh, yes. Yeah. So that's as much as he ever says. He just says, oh, what's that? Yeah. And it could be the same with any kind of gadget that the Doctor may have about his person, whether it's something from the past, the present, or the future. I mean, for someone such as Jamie, you know, he could have pulled out a smartphone, and Jamie, what on earth's that, Doctor? You know, there's not very much. It's just enough. It's just enough to justify the existence of the gadget to fulfill its part in the mechanics of an adventure serial from something that was on TV in the mid-60s. And whilst I think that canon is important, and how these things are put together, and how canon is built, and the legacy of the show and all this iconography, the order in which it's rolled out should never be abandoned or written over just for shits and giggles. I think that sometimes we can convince ourselves that something is more set in concrete than it actually is. For example, for me, the first incarnation of the Doctor, William Hartnell, that is set so deep in concrete over and over and over again. But the thing with the Sonic and various other things like that, I've never been 100% sure about. Is it part of the TARDIS toolkit? Where does the TARDIS toolkit come from? Is that standard issue to TARDIS is on Gallifrey, or is it something the Doctor pulled together? It's all that kind of stuff. And I think it's fun to play with all that kind of thing. Myself.
I do have one question, and this pertains not only to this, but to the Time Lord Victorious and to the Doom one a couple years ago. I'm asking this because I just don't know. On these kind of transmedia events, what is the metric by which they can say that this event is successful or not?
Who knows?
Well, that's a good question, actually. I like that.
Like everything else, David, I would imagine they will have their own ideal outcomes and targets, which they'll track however these things are tracked in publishing rather than television, because it works differently. David, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's interesting. It'd be interesting to know what metrics are used, being a very dull man who likes his figures and numbers. But yeah, I think that's a really interesting question, and it'd be interesting to see how that is divided up, dependent on what sort of material is being has been released. For example, I suppose the thing that you can monitor about the text is how many hits on the website, for example, and how many sales of the comic and the audios, I suppose. And obviously, but because it is as you say, a transmedia event, that there aren't really any sort of really published metrics for them. It's a sort of new sort of thing, really. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And I thought that was a very good point, Gary. That really interesting question.
Well, because the reason I asked that is because, I mean, you can have all the bells and whistles like we've been talking about. We talked about the book cover. I mean, come on, Lee Binding, I think, is actually functionally incapable of doing any kind of bad art. All of the stuff he produces is always fantastic. So something like this, well, of course it is, because it's Lee Binding and his stuff is always magnificent. But that's kind of an isolated, you know, and maybe that will draw people into the book. Believe me, I'm not wishing this ill or anything. I'm just saying that all of this is just like, to me, kind of like, noise. And at some point in the future, we'll be able to hopefully have some kind of perspective whether the whole thing was a success or not.
Circuit Breaker continues in the next issue of Doctor Who magazine. That's on sale next week, Thursday, the 24th of July. And Joe Martin's book, Kaleidoscope, as part of the Circuit Breaker event, is due to be published in a couple of months' time. So stay tuned. There'll be talk, no doubt, of various signings. Maybe she's doing a book tour with that. If you are following Circuit Breaker, let us know your experience. What is working for you and what isn't? And what do you make of all this sonic screwdriver talk as well? I know. Difficult one, isn't it?
That cursed doctor is interfering with my plans, but I will destroy the universe. He won't be able to stop me, but you might, if you watch Type 40.
All these controversies, always the same when it comes to Doctor Who, isn't it? We track as much of it as we possibly can here at Type 40. Lately, we've been looking across the creative side of the Doctor Who universe and the fandom in light of the fact of being where we are. You can catch up on plenty of that here if you check out Type 40 Extra. So this is our strand of extra conversations, really, video exclusive content focused on whatever we need it to be. But we've had lots of showcases over the last 4 or 5 years. We've been doing this for various creative projects, and we've got the people involved with them in for a long-form conversation to explain where it come from and why. The latest couple of editions have involved a total no-holds-barred panel, I suppose you could say, in light of the cancellation story from last month. So we kicked that around some more there with a panel of invited guests, YouTubing and podcasting. So that was fun. We've got our chat there with the guy behind Boo Hoo. That's Mikey, and the short form animation that he put together, Dr. Boo, which features the Doctor and the Ogrons there. Just a minute's worth of animation, so much fun. He explained how he created it, why he created it, and where that could be going. And then most recently, we looked at the brand new third trailer to Doctor Who Meets the Scorpion, the long-awaited Doctor Who fan film that's finally coming later on this year. 2026 is the year of the Scorpion. And we examined every frame, didn't we, Charlotte, of that latest trailer?
Yeah, we managed to get like nearly an hour's worth of video from like a 3-minute trailer.
It was our pleasure, Phil. So check out some of that in the playlist there, Type 40 Extra. Over 80 editions of that. Lots of conversations surrounding fan creations, as well as looks slightly outside of the Doctor Who universe. There's the Type 40 podcast, also available across all major podcatchers. As always, our chat with Dallas Jones there about the incredible work that he did down under to make sure that Doctor Who didn't disappear from televisions there. And that was in the mid-70s. So they were trying to take it off the screen for Australians years before they tried it with the rest of us. So Dallas tells his amazing story there in the latest Type 40 Doctor Who podcast, all major podcatchers, and our home feed, type40.podbean.com. This is Type 40 Live, though, on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X. I think we're getting cooking again after a couple of weeks away. There's plenty more to talk about. Of course there is, but we've got to avoid all wrong-uns if we can, if we dare. And we'll pick up some more comments in the live chat too and find out what you've got to say about all of this.
That cursed doctor is interfering with my plans, but I will destroy the universe. He won't be able to stop me, but you might, if you watch Type 40.
I feel like I've got a bit of deja vu.
What? Who said that? Deja vu all over again, David, isn't it?
Yes.
It's great to be back, isn't it? Okay, so here we are. No controversy here at all, is there? So, yeah, we are where we are with Doctor Who, and things didn't go great, did they? Look, they had several opportunities, several roads they could have travelled with all new Doctor Who, and 2 doctors. In fact, did they choose the wrong one? I don't know. I'm not sure if there was a right one under the circumstances, but the fact is that how things have worked out in the less than 3 years since the 60th anniversary specials that seem to hold so much promise, I don't think any of us could have predicted it, and we certainly didn't want it to go the way that it has. The excuses that have mounted up have not been particularly impressive. The conduct of individuals, next to criminal, in my opinion, and the way that fans have been spoken to really has been absolutely shocking. But it has been a time, no doubt a time of challenge for the people who were involved in making Doctor Who. Things started to go wrong pretty quickly, and I dare say a lot of them are happy enough to be out of it, and we could be happy enough to see the back of them. One in particular has reared his head again recently at this year's Attitude Awards. You won't be surprised to learn, Gary, that Russell T Davies was a presence at the Attitude Awards, and he insisted, in the very brief time that he was asked about Doctor Who, he insisted that there'd been no drama or any kind of nastiness, and there was no bad aftertaste left with him following his premature exit as the showrunner of Doctor Who last month, when they grabbed him on the red carpet for a chat. So did you see this? Had you been keeping track of it, or have you been trying to keep distant from Russell T Davies just like I have?
Absolutely. If I see this, I run the opposite direction.
Well, the journalists from the Mirror, they did grab hold of him on his way into the Attitude Awards. He's looking on moving forward into other projects, is the official line, Luke, and there does seem to be plenty happening with Russell T Davies. The series Tiptoe, which I don't think that was as well received as a lot of his earlier dramas, but it definitely found an audience, is the impression that I'm getting on Channel 4.
Yeah, I watched Tiptoe. I thought it was good. Yeah, it's a conversation around Tiptoe. I thought was, it's a weird one to have. It is a very hard hitting drama, don't get me wrong, and I thought it was incredibly well made and well written. It's very shocking, especially towards the end. I mean, the opening is the ending, and it is quite a brave ending. Put it that way. Not brave ending. It's brave to open with that ending. Sorry. But I believe that the central story for Tiptoe wasn't best suited to David Morrissey and Alan Cummins. The better story was the son that was hiding his sexuality from David Morrissey, and then the trans character that worked for Alan Cummins. I found that story a better story, and I thought the series would have been better if it was more focused on them, and then them two are in the peripheral, and that's the first time I've ever said peripheral right and not said profiteroral. So that's quite nice. I said it twice then, and
were there any profiteroles in the show?
There were no profiteroles in the show. But yeah, no, I recommend it as a watch. I recommend it. Don't watch it all in one. It's a heavy watch. But it's a very heavy watch. Jeez. But yeah, no, absolutely. Give it a try. I think it's being either remade or sold to America right now. So Gary will be able to watch it soon. Really good. All round, well done. It's just I could use it. I thought it could have been. There's a better story in it than the one that was told, I thought.
Well, it definitely seemed to come at the right time for Russell T Davies in light of what he's done to Doctor Who in the era that we term RTD2. I mean, he offered us these 2 new incarnations of the character, well, one sort of new and one very new. And neither of them have gone down in Doctor Who history particularly well. And the only thing that's trended hasn't been any of the characters or the stories. It's been this hashtag again, RIP Doctor Who. Russell handled his departure extremely badly with this, we've been through it with a fine tooth comb, haven't we, with this post on Instagram with the cartoon TARDIS, and then quite a barbed exchange, dispatch directed towards the audience and the fan base. So quite understandably, I've said before, it wouldn't have bothered me if we never heard from this guy again. But the Mirror did push him on the way into the Attitude Awards, and they asked him Why? Why did you leave? Why did you leave the series? Because I think we can all tell that there's a lot of bullshit floating around in this regard, but we can't drag out of the guy. If he's going to stick to this line, he's going to stick to this line. And all that he offered back to the Mirror was time to move on, and that's all. That was literally all he said. And the impression I'm getting, Mike, is that this is probably going to be the final word on from Russell T Davies, Doctor Who, later this year. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's it. I think he's I think it's like we were talking about last time. I think he held off and said, I'm writing a story. He's deliberately moved on, but I think he's done it just in time for this that thing I emailed you, the news report, the what is it called, the BBC report. And and there's ways you can do it. You know, you can kind of go, be honest and say, look, we were just holding back because, you know, we wanted to keep you, we didn't want to sort of let you all down, but I'm really sorry. You know, he could have even lied and said, look, there was a script, I've been working on one, but we kind of knew it wasn't going to go ahead. He could have done something. He could have, he could have bought me dinner before he, I won't say it, but you know what I mean? He could have got the butter out, he could have got a bit of KY, but he didn't, You get my metaphor.
Level.
They are subtle.
Yeah.
And, but I think he's got a power trip, because when he came back to it, didn't he? He had a very much kind of like, well, I'm the only person that can save this show. And I think it's like kind of like, I giveth, I taketh away. I think he's gone completely nuts, I think, to be honest with you. And and I think someone's actually on one of those things. He's gone and he's picked up some pointless awards for diversity, and he thinks that he's God's gift to everything at the moment, and not realizing, actually, do you know what? There are better ways to do this. I think he, the BBC probably said to him, "Oh, could you just could say, I think he's not had the butter either, but and he's done the same thing.
This to me is a man who is completely unused to clear, unmitigated failure, which let's be real. The RTD2 era was just that.
Yeah.
He is not used to this. This is not, so who's to say how he can, cope with it or process it.
He's struggling to field the kind of questioning, and I dare say his own feelings about this in real time. And I think he's been struggling with it for a year or so, Gary. I do get the impression that he wants people to stop asking him about Doctor Who already.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, I think it's true of any of us. If we had like a huge, professional train wreck, which basically, especially one that was a return that was so celebrated, with so much expectation, behind it, that, to be fair, Russell was, instigating a lot of that and propelling it over the last couple of 3 years. And for it all to go so wrong, especially when he was the one that said many of a time that his was the last word. No one tells him no. So really, he can't push this on to anybody else and say, well, I was the victim of studio interference, this, that, the other thing. No, this was the guy that, every opportunity he could, saying, I'm the last voice. I'm the guy that stays up till 2 a.m. deciding whether the next word I type should be and or but. He can't shift the blame to anybody else, even though right now I think he desperately wishes he could. So yeah, there's no escaping his responsibility in this. So he'd rather just ignore it.
Float away off to other projects, Charlotte. His next venture is It's a Sin. So they're taking this to the stage. He's working with the Pet Shop Boys on a musical version of an outstanding drama series that he put on Channel 4. When was this? 2021. That kicks off in Manchester early next year, and then moves to Cardiff for the summer, and then across the country after that. So this is going to be a big thing, and he's going to be heavily involved. And I get the impression that he's just going to throw himself into every other project and put as much distance between him and Doctor Who as is possible in a shorter period of time as possible. What do you think?
Oh yeah, yeah. Just to say to this, putting on any theatre show is a big endeavour because it's not something you can do lightly. Let alone getting a script, which is TV, and then adapting it to the theatre. Also making it a musical, like that's a whole new format. So yeah, I think Russell's going to be very happy that this is something that is going to be a bit all consuming, and it should be if you want to do it right, because It's a Sin I agree with you, it was brilliantly written, the characters were very well realised, it felt authentic, it felt like that series had a voice, it had something to say, and it did it very well. But Russell's comments about, it's time to move on, it makes me think of how Ncuti's comments when he got asked very similar questions about why he left. The whole, my knees, I'm getting a bit old, folks, that whole excuse you tried on us. And I think what it is, we can tell when somebody's got an authentic reason to why they're going. Because I think as humans, we could just naturally pick up when something doesn't quite smell right. Whereas, like, for example, when Matt was going and he was talking about he loved the role, but he just wanted to do other stuff. He wanted to do Hollywood. He wanted to sort of get different roles. You could tell he was talking from the heart. Like, that wasn't him just coming up with something. This feels like this is Russell knowing he can't say the truth. He can't say what actually happened. So he's sort of been given a very stock thing that he can say. Like how Ncuti got given, I think, his sort of stock response when he left. Because we all said, if you read his post, if you read the announcement BBC did, if you look at everything, if you read between the lines, Russell did not leave with grace from this role. He did not leave with a lot of congratulations, with a lot of sort of, thank you, Russell, so much, but we understand you have to move on, sort of vibe. This was him crashing out. That's the vibe it gave.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this is a very PR savvy, and as in, I'm just going to say, a very boring, but it's not really going to cause any response.
Yeah, I think also, obviously, the elephant in the room is the fact that he got so much money and so much publicity from Disney and basically balls it up. I mean, there are people that probably could have taken that budget and done 10 series of a show and done it a lot better.
There are certainly people who would have run that show considerably better and kept the plate spinning better and understood the global TV market better than he did, worked with the co-producers better. Everything about it seems to be a total shit show. Obviously, the book is out later in the year, The Queerest of Folk, A Life in Television by Russell T Davies. That's coming in the autumn. And he's promised there will be talk of his second stint on Doctor Who in this, Luke. Do you imagine that there'll be, but it's covering his literal entire life in television. And this is 3.5 decades worth. How much Doctor Who content are you expecting in this? Should we expect him to say a great deal more, or will it largely be more party lines and general sticking to the script? What are you expecting from this?
Yeah, sorry to go back. Russell didn't approach the BBC to come back. He approached the BBC to do a one-off special. The BBC asked him to come back. Piers Wenger approached him to come back to do the 60th and to do the Disney stuff. The way people are talking in this makes it seem like he come in and was like, "Oh, I'm taking over. I'm saving the show." Blah blah blah. He was asked to come back and do a job. Just throwing that out there. So let's get facts right first before we start.
Yeah, but to be fair, it's how he carried on in interviews afterwards. I think that's what we're talking about. It's his sort of
but the way people are talking in this, it makes it seem like he's like, "Oh no, I come back, Doctor Who can't." No, he was asked to come back. Like, if someone asked me to go and do a job again, I'd probably go do it. But like, it's fine. But with this as well,
Bad Wolf did put on Twitter that week, we're teaming up with Russell T Davies to save Doctor Who. Somebody at Bad Wolf, whether it's somebody who runs Bad Wolf socials or something, but you're quite right. Russell T Davies didn't actually say anything like that.
Yeah, Piers Wenger approached him to come back. But yeah, in this, I don't know. You know what the writer's tale was like, which was quite revealing. Yeah, fantastic read. But that's just him and Benjamin Cook and all their messages, which is very unique. Can he go into a lot with this? We don't know. We don't know if there's loads of NDAs been put on it. Like, we literally don't know. He'll talk about certain aspects that he wants out there and that are kind of already out there. But I don't think we're going to learn a great deal of. He's not going to come out and be like, oh, well, shoot, he done this, or something done this, or this is the reason Millie's hardly in series 2. I think he might just skim over this bit and probably go to Tiptoe, because he'll have a lot more freedom to write about Tiptoe, because that's his pet project. That's his. Doctor Who is the BBC's, and he might be NDA'd beyond belief with Disney. So
So no tell-alls on the various people involved in Doctor Who. Maybe they can rest easy, but I think the fandom, I don't think this book's going to do very well. I certainly have no intention of reading it. My feelings towards Russell T Davies are pretty clear. I don't want to hear, read, or pay for any more of this man's efforts. I look back on his recent stint on Doctor Who, generally speaking, with that kind of sense that Mike was talking about, as this could have been really something. It could have been something with him if he'd have got out of his own way and maybe worked with people a little bit more, but it could have absolutely have been in the hands of someone else, someone who understood the task at hand, I think, a little better, had more fire in their belly and more truth in their heart, rather than sort of blackness and anger, bitterness. I think we could have gone somewhere really, really interesting. For now, this has to be the final word from Russell T Davies, I think, on Doctor Who. Time to move on. That's all. All I can say is that, as regards his project with the Pet Shop Boys, good riddance, Russell. I'm glad that he's Neil and Chris's problem now, and not ours. But we'll see. We'll see where things go. I expect that Russell will spend the rest of his time beavering away on these kind of pet projects, because obviously he's advancing in age now, and people should do the things that they want to do. I don't begrudge anybody that. But yeah, I'm Russell T Davies out. Let us know where you are with Russell, of course, in the comments and in the live chat. And will you be picking up that book later in the year, I suppose, is the question.
Can I just come in on that final question? Will you be picking up that book? My good lady will be. She's very interested in reading it. As a lot of people, she said, I'll just skip over the Doctor Who bits because I'm not really interested in them. But I'm really interested in his whole career. So I predict it. I'm making a prediction now that I think it will sell brilliantly with the general public. And okay. Probably, I don't know. There will be some Doctor Who fans who are fans of his first tenure who may well buy it, and probably some fans of Doctor Who. So I don't know how it will rate within the Doctor Who community, but I think the general public will lap it up, because he's done he's done so much more in his career than that.
There's more to his career than Doctor Who. That has to be accepted, definitely. Yeah, let us know what you think in the comments. Now is the ideal time, I feel, to take a break, to freshen up the palate, wash that taste out of our mouths, and head back to simpler, more satisfying times in the analog age, where some of Doctor Who's most golden faces and silkiest of voices were selling us all manner of old tat over on the other side. Yes, it's the Type 40 Live Doctor Who ad break, everybody. Check out these golden oldies, and we'll see you back here in a couple of minutes.
Citizens, a revolution is upon us. A TV revolution. It's called Home Choice, and it allows you to watch what you want exactly when you want. Home Choice puts you in control of a huge selection of TV programmes, music videos and films. You control when you start your programmes. You'll never miss the start of a programme again because you're stuck in heavy traffic. There's no point shouting, I'm flat out here.
Shut the door. It's a horse, darling.
From a little over £11,000 to nearly 200,000 francs, the Rover 800 series.
I bet you think those girls are gorgeous.
Oh, there's only one lady in my life.
But what if you could go out with any girl in the world?
I love you.
I'm offering you Kelly Brook on a plate here.
Not interested.
Tess Daly. No. I won't get upset, it's only a game.
Claire from work. Oh, aye.
Back with more of your Type 40 live here, Rumble X, YouTube, and Facebook. The past, the present, and the future of Doctor Who, just not necessarily in that order or any order. Come to think of it. Yes, so hope you enjoyed the adverts. We certainly did. The panel are still here. What do you think about Peter Kay there? What a dirty devil, David. I don't know. What's he talking about?
Claire from work. Yeah, I love it.
That guy's sleeping on the couch for about a month.
Yeah, there is a slightly a very short anecdote about Rover. In the 70s, they had the tagline, tomorrow's car today. So James Callaghan, who was Prime Minister in 1976, decided to get a Rover as his prime ministerial car with bulletproof windows and everything. On the first journey, the windows fell out. And because they were so delayed, it had the tagline, yesterday's car tomorrow, instead of tomorrow's car today.
I think I vaguely remember that. That evil car is running on petrol, and it's not stupidly expensive, says Richard Brooks. I'd hate to think what the price of petrol was then. Oh, yeah. Thank you, everybody. I'm pleased that people enjoyed them so much. Is there a wine bottle holder in the car? Asks the Zero Room. We'll never know the answer to that question, Gary, sadly. Yeah, I do. The old adverts, they used to be funny. It's like you were saying earlier on about cracking jokes. People don't like jokes anymore, Mike, do they? I don't know if adverts have survived. Because it was often said that the adverts were better than the programs back in the 70s and the 80s, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you what I like doing is show my kids old adverts. Like I showed them the high karate adverts. And they can't believe like how ridiculous they are and how actually quite sexist they are. The fact this woman comes in with this low top and she wants to attack this man and he's fighting her off and stuff like that. And they just laughing hysterically, But actually, the John Smith advert, when I was on the comedy circuit, there was a guy that did that joke and he was doing it for years. And we knew that advertising people used to come to comedy clubs and steal jokes. That's actually something they did. I don't know whether that was just maybe something that maybe, there's some jokes, if you think hard enough, you'll come to that conclusion. But there was a few jokes, and that was one of the ones I remember when I saw that, I thought, that's Pete's joke, and it wouldn't be unusual to hear someone else, like there was the one guy had one about a bacon-scented candle, and years later I saw it as an advert on the wall, and I kept seeing my friend's jokes being done. But we actually did think, was that stolen? And he couldn't do the joke anymore because, and he was doing it about 5 or 6 years before that advert, so it could have been stolen by an advertiser. Because we used to sometimes see people at gigs writing things down, and you can't copyright a joke.
I think I'd assumed that Peter Kay had written his own material even for that, David, but it could have been written by somebody from John Smith's.
Oh, yeah. I don't think Peter Kay would have written that. I generally think Peter Kay would have just done the gig. I don't think he would have bothered. It's like, well, you're going to pay me a ton of money for it anyway. Why bother actually even writing anything? So I don't think Peter Kay would have. I think if Peter Kay wrote it, he probably would have written it. I doubt if he would have stolen the joke. But if it was written by advertising, I think it's possible. It could possibly have been nicked. We weren't sure, but it could be thought up. The first advert with David Tennant. I used to share a flatmate. It just brought this memory back. It's just mad. And he used to hate that advert. He was Scottish. And because he hated the fact that this guy was talking about revolution, but all he's doing is talking about watching a bit of fucking telly. That's it. And it used to drive him mad because my friend was a bit of a lefty, a bit radical, and he hated the fact there was a Scottish guy going about revolutions, but wanting to watch a bit of telly. He used to drive him up the wall.
Talking about revolutions, my favourite. There is a gag on so many different levels here, Mike. I hope you appreciate it. Talking about revolutions, I used to like the Papa Nicole one about the Renault cars.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
She was
French.
fit, that girl. I don't know. I never even thought of that, but it wouldn't surprise. I feel like I've had a blast of reality right in my face there, Mike. So thanks for that. It's certainly been better than a lot of blasts we've been served lately. But yeah, do the advertising execs for the comedy circuit pinching their gags? It certainly looks like it. I don't know. You don't get this on Radio Free Scaro, do you? Stick with us on Type 40 Live. There's lots more to talk about, everybody, including this. So whilst there is no Doctor Who news as such, we are entering the new age, Charlotte. Some people are calling it the Wilderness Years Mark II. Others are suggesting it is the Tendering age. I can't see those things. I can't see any of those things catching on somehow. Can you?
No, but the more you say tender, the more it makes me think of that scene in The Two Doctors with poor Jamie when Shockey's trying to get him ready.
Tenderize him.
Yeah.
I just think of the Blur song, which is a classic.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, I like that too. I like that too. So this week, the plot is sort of thickening ever so slightly, in a series of comments that I don't think are going to surprise anybody, really. BBC Studios is already very publicly and quite aggressively entering the arena to compete potentially with other independent production companies to respond to the BBC's own invitation to tender. Obviously, Doctor Who, the intention is that Doctor Who will resume production at some point in the future, with a new home, obviously a new cast, and a new crew. The media has kept an eye on this, I suppose you could say, with some more interested than others. But obviously, as the premier entertainment resource now, certainly for news internationally, Deadline, they are following very, very closely indeed. Deadline was the site, the platform that did a sort of a straw poll. They approached several independent production companies in the wake of the update from the BBC a few weeks ago and asked them, would they consider tendering? Would they pitch for Doctor Who? And what could potentially be the pitfalls? So Deadline are becoming a steadfast and reliable place to go to, if not for Doctor Who news, than to go for informed commentary with one foot inside the actual industry rather than anything that's sort of doggedly from a fan's perspective. So it's always worth keeping an eye on whatever Deadline have to say. But the reason why it attracted Deadline's attention this time is because they were covering the publishing of the BBC Group's annual report and accounts for 2025 into 2026. That was presented to Parliament a couple of days ago on Tuesday, and obviously coming just a month after the Doctor Who announcement, which did shock a lot of people for one reason or another. It's understandable that as one of the BBC's most prestigious and historically best-selling shows, that this would come up. Those industry insiders told Deadline that the tendering process alone could take up to 6 months. The tender window may be open, but it hasn't officially begun. Experts also predict that Doctor Who itself can't possibly return to the TV any earlier than 2028. Sorry, that's the very earliest. Despite all of this and the pretense of formalities beginning and a long process, I believe that everybody in the fandom is having mostly the same conversation, has noticed the same things, that despite all those possibilities in an exciting TV landscape now that's loaded with exciting potential independent producers and a generation or two of creatives and professionals that have come along since Doctor Who was last reinvented, despite all those possibilities, the finger of probability is now pointing more clearly than ever in the direction of one winner and one potential new showrunner, the last man standing, Pete McTighe. We've been talking about this now for at least 2 years, and despite the update from the BBC and the exiting of Bad Wolf, which I'll be honest, I didn't see coming, despite all of that, I still view those comings and goings as simply an obstacle that can be easily moved out of the way for the initial plan to actually be resumed, and that Pete McTighe is still very much waiting in the wings when this all starts to clean up. Deadline have pursued a general line. They've published not a huge article, but with lots of quotes on this matter. So who's caught up with this? The BBC Studios boss confirms it will compete to become the next producer of Doctor Who. We are in it to win it. This was published a couple of days ago and written by Max Goldbart. A lot of people are talking about this one, Charlotte.
Yeah, because it's, to be fair, it's actually some people from the BBC commenting on Doctor Who, which for a while they haven't been. As soon as
for a few years.
Confirmation. Well, yeah, I think more initially,
once it was with Bad Wolf, Charlotte, they were happy that it was Bad Wolf's problem. I always got the impression.
That's true. Yeah, like actually, BBC heads sort of they went very quiet, didn't they? But I think this is sort of caught the attention because of studios basically saying we're going to go for it, but that shouldn't really be a surprise to anybody, because I think the BBC, if they can, they will want to keep it as much as in-house as technically they can. I know Studios is its own entity in the BBC, it's their commercial arm, but it's still BBC. It might have a different label, but it's part of the big house. That's the way I've always seen it. And I think for commercial reasons, I want to have it as much as in-house as they can. For money reasons, obviously, if you have to go to another big producer, you will have to split any money off, merchandise, off any sales of the product abroad. So that would be a benefit if Studios got it. So I wasn't surprised. And I'm going to be honest, a lot of the comments, I'm very much in this mode right now of we've had a lot of really good sounding people when it comes to saying, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, like we're in it to win it, all these little sound bites. But they're just sound bites. They're just words. And for how long did we get told you're going to get a special? And then we got told, no, you're not. So anything right now is very much up in the air. So
the impression that how I view it, Charlotte, is that it's one thing for a publicity department, a PR, to put out a press release. I think that tends to be at the end of a process, Luke, when the people involved in making something or making a decision in casting someone or choosing a writer, when they've arrived at a decision, that it's publicised by the PR department and a press release is put out. So I think that's slightly different than getting key figures, production personnel, to speak publicly at an event when they publish such a thing as an annual report, because that's the business end of the show, isn't it, rather than the marketing end. Because until recently we had no idea what was in a lot of these reports, and we were never privy to the kind of commentary that would be exchanged between even the industry press and these key figures, sort of CEOs and director generals.
Yeah, of course. And to be honest, we've all expected BBC Studios to win. Not to win, sorry, they haven't won yet. But we've all had the conversation and all thought BBC Studios are going to be in the running. So for them to come out and officially say, yep, we're going for it. And this was covered quite extensively on Restless Entertainment, Richard Osmond, who's one of the most knowledgeable men in the country when it comes to this. That was a very good timing. Yeah, once he's coming out and explaining the process, and look, if BBC Studios tend to go for a show, they will probably get the show, and that the shows tend to perform well, and there's multiple series. It's like, well, look at the Casualty thing, for example. Then it's not a foregone conclusion that BBC Studios will get it, but it seems the most likely that they will. And I think everyone in certain circles will already know kind of what's happening behind closed doors, but
I
it's
do
nice
get the
to
impression these are the formalities. We are watching the wheels in motion now. Richard Osman is very well connected. For him to stick his neck out in the way that he did on that podcast, and this is very much a mainstream podcast. It's part of a major media group and with a lot of money behind it. So this is not somebody recording in their garage the way that I do. This is somebody with a proper studio, and as I say, lots of mainstream media backing. Richard Osman is about as big a mainstream media figure as you can possibly find. So for him to put himself out there and state that publicly, he must have been pretty sure. And then, of course, we've got this from Jane Tranter this was on her Instagram when somebody said, I really hope it doesn't leave Cardiff in relation to Doctor Who being out to tender, Gary. And Jane Tranter, again, very publicly, I am sure it won't leave Cardiff. Again, it's not Jane's decision, but Jane was very high up in the BBC for a really, really long time. This is her again stating her reputation on it as such, but again, professional people making pretty big.
Oh, I can add to this actually.
There's no ambiguity to this at all, is there, Luke? And then, of course, you've got this from Pete McTighe, who spent a bit of time on Canva or whatever it was, knocking up his own little graphic. He was so certain Doctor Who will return again, all very public.
Yeah, so when Casualty went out to tender, one of the remits on, obviously we haven't seen it yet, we haven't seen the tender for Doctor Who, but one of the remits of it was it must remain in Cardiff. That was it. So
oh really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So when Casualty was put out to tender, one of the remits on it was it must remain in Cardiff in Roselock. So no doubt something similar is going to be worded into this, which seems very likely considering that Roselock was essentially built for Silent Witness, Doctor Who, Casualty, and
independent production companies. Can independent production companies book studio space in Roselock in the way they can Bad Wolf's facility?
I guess so. To be fair, I haven't been there in like 10 years. The canteen was really good. The canteen was great. Last time I was there was.
Did they do jam roly poly and custard?
They used to copy Weatherspoons' menu. So you'd have fish Fridays, curry Wednesdays. It was steaked. It was the best, and it was cheap as well. It was really cheap. It was like £4.
Treacle sponge and custard.
But I suspect that if an independent won it, part of the remit would, right, okay, you've got to shoot it in Roselock. You're using Studio 1, Studio 2, Studio 3. So I guess that would be put forth. Unless they wanted to shunt it down to Dragon. I mean, Dragon have got loads of facilities. I know Disney have got the lease on Dragon, I think, for the next couple of years. But but one of the remits was for Casualty, it must remain in Cardiff. So I'm guessing that will be worked in. Potentially. I've heard rumblings of it coming to Manchester. That's the other thing I've heard from people I know. So who knows?
BBC Studios have more than one facility, don't they? They haven't just got Roselock.
In Cardiff, the only BBC Studios, because Roselock is Drama Village. So you've got Roselock here. Opposite is Gorilla post-production. Down a bit, we used to be, the Doctor Who Experience. And BBC in the city centre is just offices and green screen studios and news studios, and where they film like Scrum 5 and the news and the weather. So that it wouldn't be feasible to shoot it in city centre. But obviously Bad Wolf is literally around the corner, like a 2-minute drive away. So
would it be done at Media City in Salford then if it came to Manchester?
Potentially not. You've got Sharp Studios and you've got Space Studios. So Space is where they shot like A Gentleman in Moscow there, for example, with Ewan McGregor. And Sharp Studios, which is the sister studios, which is where I used to work at Asylum. So above my studios, where they shot Nolly, Russell Davis's other production. So that's why. And Brassic as well. They shot Brassic there. And the one with a flood, from what I can never remember, but I remember that there. And Fresh Meat. So there's loads of potential there, and they'd have their home production office, I'm guessing, would be Media City. But yeah, there's space in Manchester. But more than likely, it's going to be worked in that whoever wins must shoot in Cardiff. That's the same as Casualty.
We have quotes courtesy of Deadline from key BBC personnel in line with the publishing of this report. First of all, we have from BBC Studios itself, the CEO. This is Tom Fussell. I think that's how you pronounce it. We've looked at Tom before at his various statements. He seems, how can I put this? Very confident. very sure of himself. And he says, we've been the producer for 60 years and we want to be the producer for another 60 years. So we will be going for that tender with gusto. Gary, with gusto. Gusto isn't a word that you hear very often now. I'm glad someone's brought back gusto.
Yeah, no, it's a great word that's not used as often as it should be. You know, not a lot of, too few things are done with gusto. But I don't know. I guess my cynical level is kind of triggered by all this. It just seems that when BBC Studios comes in and says, "Oh, we're going for it," so much of this now, I don't know. Feel free to tell me I'm wrong. So much of this feels like it's already a fait accompli, and so a lot of this just strikes me as performative. You know, for the sake of making it seem like they gave everybody a chance. You know, and so if BBC Studios gets it, it will be because their ideas were so much better than any other possible competitor. And I don't know, like I said, this already feels to me kind of like a done deal. And if Pete McTighe's name is kind of, you know, being floated out there now, that just kind of, you know, like the old song goes, you know, meet the new boss, same as the old boss. You know,
couldn't agree more.
It's like how much is really going to change if you get somebody in there who was so closely tied to RTD and his way and his philosophy and his way of doing things.
Yeah, especially as I was going to say, when you showed that picture there of all the shows that are under BBC Studios, they have got a lot of creative people that they could go to. They've got a lot of writers, a lot of producers, people that have had hit shows in different ways. That I think, honestly, to go with Pete would be a mistake if Studios gets it, because I think what Doctor Who needs is that fresh pair of eyes, is that fresh energy, is somebody who's, like Gary said, not got close links to the last eras, that hasn't already been this part of the establishment. Like, sort of, looking at that picture, the people who do Ghosts, that crew, they have had hit show after hit show. Their Ghost is getting, it's done so well, they're having a movie this year. They literally are finishing off the story in cinemas. That's what the Ghost crew are doing this year.
It's been phenomenally successful, that has, considering what it started from.
Yeah, and like there's an American version of it, and and the thing is with that crew, they have shown that they can do history with Ghosts because of the setup of it. They can do comedy. They can actually do quite touching and really good character work. And the other thing is they can even sort of touch on social issues and do it deftly.
I think that what the whole thing with Ghosts demonstrates more than that, Charlotte, is that somewhere in the equation is someone who knows how to handle an IP, who knows how to exploit and market something sensitively in a way to know where the boundaries are, where the lines in the sand are between, you know, what should be, what can be, should be remade overseas for a different audience, and what can be, and simply what that which can be sold lock and stock into other territories. They seem to have handled that very, very well. And I can't help but wonder if it's not because that something like Ghosts hasn't got the baggage that Doctor Who obviously hasn't got the dedicated fan base. I know that there are people who really love it, but it hasn't got that kind of the rabid fan base and that kind of, and bring with it any performance anxiety, because people won't have the expectations of it. Every way that it is expanded is going to surprise people. So I'm glad that somebody can do that, but I think that whoever enters the equation when it comes to Doctor Who should have the ability to look at Doctor Who and not see all that baggage, to not actually handle it any differently than somebody would handle something such as Ghosts, something that is new, because that's what Doctor Who needs when it's been reinvented successfully. It's been by people who haven't been afraid of all of that, haven't been bound by that, who've just thought, okay, well, you may have seen Doctor Who before, but you've never seen our Doctor Who before. I think that's what counts. BBC Studios, you may be interested to learn, Charlotte, is statistically already the most awarded production company in Britain. So as regards the landscape of how many production companies there are, there's a lot. BBC Studios has a great track record. Virtually everything they go for, they do get. And you've got this Bob Fussell here speaking in such a way, in a kind of flippant way, speaking of their history with the show, with the IP. I mean, I would argue that they haven't made it constantly for 60 years. There was the 15 years, Gary, where they didn't make anything, and then there's been recent times, Mike, where Disney have been making it. So it's actually nowhere near 60 years. That's the truth of the matter. But he finished off by saying this: "We are in it to win it." Now, to me, the first statement is fine, and I'd have just seen that and thought, "Oh, this is typical marketing puff, smoke and mirrors, blag, whatever you want to call it." But when somebody says something like this, when a professional, the CEO of an operation like BBC Studios, confidently steps up in an environment, in something that is presented to the government, and bear in mind this is a public service venture with the BBC, and all of this are things that they are obliged to do and to be truthful about. And he said, "We are in it to win it." That's a big thing to walk back. I mean, it's one thing for Richard Osman to stick his neck out on his podcast and say something that might not happen. It's another thing for Jane Tranter to assure people, it won't leave Cardiff. And another for Pete McTighe, who isn't in the equation at all officially right now, to assure us that Doctor Who will return. But when Bob Fussell says something like this, "We are in it to win it," this does to me, this is the biggest indicator of a foregone conclusion, because a man on this kind of level with egg on his face, that's the kind of thing that sticks and can potentially harm somebody's career. People remember statements like this if they don't deliver. So that's why I tend to agree with Gary. What are your thoughts, David?
I agree with that. I think BBC Studios are probably the best placed in this situation, and if he is wanting to win it, I'm sure he will make sure his bid throws everything at the BBC in the process. It makes sense that they continue, that they should they win it. It makes sense because the BBC retains control of the IP, so that may put off other sort of production companies coming in to produce something which they don't have control of the IP. I am happy with Pete McTighe as a producer or involved in some way or another, because it won't just be him. It will be other people across executives and production people across other productions involved.
Rather than the situation where Russell T Davies was the big boss and nobody could say anything to him. It was his way or the highway. You think it might be different with Pete McTighe at BBC Studios?
I would suggest that it is returned very much to a situation that it was or I predict that it was in 2005 when you had Mal Young and Julie Gardner and other people involved, just to say, "Are you sure about that?" Or I don't think that's a very good idea, or I don't think that will work, or how about we try? And I think it will be more of a, dare I say, a triumvirate of exec producers on it, of whom will bring various different skills to the party. As far as writing goes, there is a lot of talent within BBC Studios, as Charlotte has already said about Ghosts. And I think that they will, if you excuse the phrase, they will pump that talent pool to get the best sort of writers to bring new ideas and fresh ideas out into the open. And I think that's what we need for the show to, dare I say, reboot it itself, because don't forget, for 20 years there were 3 people who were essentially show running the show, which is not a lot. And we went back to, I think I said before on a podcast, there was 9 or so producers in the first 18 years of Doctor Who, so that on average a change once every 2 years. And I just think that helps, keeps it fresh, because you don't let something get stale. If something doesn't work, you can bring in somebody different. I think it was Barry Letts who once said, if something's not working, you change the Doctor or you change the producer. You change the showrunner. And I do feel that BBC Studios are probably the best fit if the other part of the organization owns the IP. So I'm not particularly worried at all. I like the stuff that Pete McTighe has done. Generally, I think he has shown that when he's done the shorts for the DVD trailers, they have been fantastic, especially the season 21 ones. It's obviously clear that he loves the show. What will be interesting to see was if he is the new lead for the series. What would be interesting to see would be his vision for the future and how he gets the show out of the complete mess that is the end of the reality war.
I think he understands. But we can't go back over that particular, because I can't see how they can revisit any of that. But I think that what you're pointing to does at least remind us that the delight that a lot of that material has brought to us to here on this panel, the various panelists that we've had with every Blu-ray release, Luke. We've adored those vignettes that Pete McTighe has worked on. Some of them are touching, some of them are funny, some of them are quite high-minded, admittedly, and haven't quite landed. But considering that there's been so many of them made, and those fan edits they're not fan edits, are they? But those alternative edits that he's put together, they have also largely satisfied people. It's just the episodes that he's worked on the television. I think Pete McTighe's passion for Doctor Who can't be denied. And so when Tom Fussell talks here, he says, speaking about BBC Studios, as the distributor and commercial licenser, we understand those fan relationships and can build on that. And I'd be all for that when I look at the Blu-ray box sets. But then I look to other things that they try. I mean, here we are with the Transmedia event, despite the fact that 2 of them have failed before, and we're trying it again. So how much about the fan relationship do they really understand? You look at the Whoniverse show and how that is, I'm going to be kind and say, a mixed bag. How much the people who make that, how much about the fan base do they understand if they think that's what fans want? But he also went on to say Doctor Who is something that people in this organisation care passionately about, and we know that that's true. I think more so than, largely speaking, than the people at Bad Wolf did. I think there are people at BBC Studios at various positions who are just as passionate as we are about it, and I don't think that can be denied when we line that up with the things that Pete has put together for the Blu-ray range. I suppose we shall see. But I do get the impression when I look at the various quotes, we're in it to win it. The lay of the land, the inevitability of BBC Studios, the track record of the show, how the BBC don't seem to be that confident when it comes to this series, who seem to view it as a problem. I do think they're going to resist a sexier option, a bigger gambit with it, especially in light of what's gone on with Disney. I think they are likely to go back to BBC Studios. I think that's where all arrows are pointing, and to one showrunner. I view this, the changeover, I know it's going to happen over a longer period of time, but between Russell T Davies and Pete McTighe, this is similar to what we've seen played out in British politics in the last few weeks. The swapping out of Keir Starmer for Andy Burnham. Andy Burnham coming in as new, not only leader of the Labour Party, but the new Prime Minister, with having gone through no screening process. Everything has been a sort of formality. He's not been challenged in any way. They've done the very minimum, and there's been no scrutiny on Andy Burnham as a potential Prime Minister whatsoever. In fact, most people south of, say, Sheffield had never heard of the guy until a few months ago. And I do see that the appointment of Pete McTighe, should this happen, and to me this seems inevitable. All of our contacts, all of our credible, reliable sources here at Type 40 for several years now have always maintained that Pete McTighe has been in line to inherit the showrunner's role via one means or another. And it would seem to me that, yeah, like Gary said, meet the new boss the same as the old boss, and the signs on the door may be changed, the premises may be changed, but largely it'll be things going ahead exactly as is originally planned. And whilst we're not psychic, anything could happen between now and then. I think when you look across everything that's been said so far, that's where things are lining up, Charlotte.
Yeah, no, we've all said that Pete was doing so much of the press during Russell's run. He was making comments which were very sort of showrunner in waiting, wasn't he? And the amount of sort of acclaim he got off the Blu-ray stuff felt like that was a bit of a tester. Getting War Between the Land and the Sea felt like a bit of a test run for him.
Yeah.
Like I said, my only possible worry, and I'm saying possible because he's not got the role yet, we have to wait, and you won't know until you see what he does if he gets it as showrunner. I've always maintained that. But my worry is that the show has had this issue of having the same people with the same sort of ideology, the same sort of thought process for certain things, the same way of sort of writing, all just sort of giving each other jobs and all sort of being in that orbit of each other. And I think that's how we've got to the show being so at times nostalgia heavy, so sort of not being able to move forward without constantly referring to the past and then changing stuff about the past when it really should just be making new stories. And I think there's a risk of that with Pete because he's so much part of what's gone before. My hope would be if he gets showrunner position, that he has lots of other people around him which are new, like I said, which are that sort of fresh shot that this series needs in the arm right now, if I'm being perfectly honest. And like you said, the thing is with Classic, it was that more of like a team effort, that there was certain names that you heard a lot, but there were script editors, there were directors that also had a lot of say, there were producers that had a lot of say. So I'm hoping that's sort of the setup we get. And Pete, if he gets it, like I said, has got lots of other people around him, which ideally, I think never should have touched the show for the last 20 years, if I'm being perfectly honest. Because I think that's what the show needs.
Yeah, Pete McTighe was the co-writer with Russell T Davies of The War Between the Land and the Sea, which, generally speaking, is considered a success. It's mentioned in the BBC's annual report, as being a success, and whereas Doctor Who isn't. He has spoken, David, earlier this year about the showrunner's job at Gallifrey 1. So that's the biggest Doctor Who convention, obviously, in the world, that's held every year in LA. And he was asked at that event about taking the showrunner's job. It's not for me to say, he said. This was just in January. It's not for me to say. It's not my decision. I will give you my party line, which is that the position is not vacant. Russell is the showrunner, and he's a friend of mine, and whenever he calls, I will come running. But he's still the showrunner, and I'm fine with that. That was in January. Russell isn't the showrunner anymore, obviously.
I'm sure he's fine with that too.
Can I just say, I know we're just speculating. I totally realize that, but I find this all extremely disheartening, personally. Because right now we're kind of in the phase of the sky's the limit. We don't know who's going to get the tender. We can speculate that all signs lead us to maybe one thing, but we don't know. But so right now we're still in the sky's the limit in terms of, what can be done, who's going to do it, what we think would work. I may think that the best thing to do for the show is just to play it safe, because it is such an extraordinarily flexible premise. They could literally do anything. That's why I personally think that the Hartnell era, I think, made the best use of the premise of the show. It went anywhere in time and space from week to week. The stories were extraordinarily varied and didn't work to a formula. And I just, my gut tells me that right now we're gonna slowly move from a point now where like the sky's the limit to where every piece that gets firmed up is going to slowly kind of like move that down to
We've seen what happens, Gary, where people try to
change is going to be the sign on the door.
Well, I think we've seen it. What happens quite recently, where people bend Doctor Who out of shape too much. I think it can be easily done. I think that's what the Bad Wolf and the Disney, they bent it out of shape. Where it's strangely, they've got a TARDIS, Luke. They've got the theme tune. They've got, on paper, everything seemed to be there, and yet it didn't feel. Somehow it started to feel not like Doctor Who, only just here and there, and then that sort of accumulated. Whereas, looking to what Gary's just said, and this is where I think that it's going back to BBC Studios, because BBC Studios produced it before, let's not forget, might not be stylistically a dead end, because there was a stark difference between BBC Studios produced it series 9 and 10 with Stephen Moffat, and BBC Studios also produced it from 11 and 12 under Chris Chibnall. And there's a big difference stylistically between Twice Upon a Time and anything in series 10 and The Woman Who Fell to Earth and Ghost, the Ghost Monument. So it looked, I mean, and I'm no fan of Jodie Whittaker and certainly not of Chris Chibnall, but I can't deny that in The Woman Who Fell to Earth, not only were the production values increased, but all of a sudden, in the space of one episode, it did feel, for a moment, it felt refreshed. It did feel different, but the same. And so whilst I agree personally myself, I'd love it to go elsewhere and for us to not have the faintest idea what it could look and feel like, remaining with BBC Studios, it doesn't necessarily mean that it will feel exactly the same, does it?
No. So the thing with BBC Studios is they own or have majority shares in a lot of independent production companies, which I think it is a little bit of a murky area, but they do own a lot of.
I didn't know that.
Like Baby Cow in Manchester is owned by BBC Studios. So another one, for example, if BBC Studios win it, it'll be one of these two production teams producing it. Okay. So one's called House Productions, and they're the team behind Conclave, Bird, Sherwood, the Iron Claw for A24, Good Mothers, Life After Life, They Shall Not Grow Old, or it will be Lookout Point, which is more likely probably Lookout Point, I think. It seems more in their remit. So they're behind Renegade Nell, Devil's Peak, Happy Valley, Power Parker, Am I Being Unreasonable, Gentleman Jack, Last Tango in Halifax, Les Mis, War and Peace, Ripper Street. So these are shows which are incredibly... Yeah, so these are shows which are... You wouldn't look at them and think they're a BBC show, but they're produced independently. BBC own this production company. So I think if the BBC studio... Yeah, so they own quite a few, actually. They bought...
Baby Cow, Steve Coogan's and Rob Brydon.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So each of those will be teams of people who kind of, in a way that's, like comedy partnerships, like Clement and Lefrene. They're sort of groups of people who just work really well together, who exist as a team. They get hired as a team.
So yeah, there's a separate production company that fall under the BBC Studios umbrella. So BBC Studios will have it, and then they could be like, right, cool, we've got Doctor Who, or they could go to the tender and pitch it, like, right, cool, we want to team up with House Productions. They made Conclave and Iron Claw, which are two, Iron Claw, the Kevin Bonerick film with Zac Efron.
I've heard a lot of good things about Sherwood that you mentioned
Yeah, so they could come
particularly
in
as to
and
how that looked.
they could come in and be like, cool, BBC Studios with house productions, we're going to pitch for Doctor Who, and then house productions, it will be essentially, you see at the end.
So is that why, Luke? Because I've often wondered about this. Is that why at the end of a lot of TV shows, even though something is being produced, for example, by BBC Studios,
Yes.
you'll get there's one logo and then another because they kind of like the Russian doll thing.
Yeah, or you'll have like baby cow for BBC Studios for BBC. Yeah, it'll be
Henry Normal and Steve Coogan, isn't it?
Yeah, so it'll be that. So that's why there's so much. So this will be like house productions produced for BBC Studios, produced for BBC Wales or wherever it is. So yeah, so that's how I think it will go. Which, looking at their back catalogue, it's a phenomenal back catalogue. Like A24 is the Iron Claw, is a beautiful film. Conclave is an amazing film. Ripper Street is brilliant. Renegade Nell is a Disney Plus show. Happy Valley is brilliant, partnered with AMC, so potential co-production deal there already. Les Mis, which is a period piece, which is great. War and Peace, Rippers, so this, even though it is BBC Studios, it is slightly more independent.
Hearing Luke speak there, Mike, that does make me feel slightly better about the I mean, it is sort of sickening that this does feel like a foregone conclusion, and I do feel we're being sort of bullshitted with the illusion of this wide open space and competition where it actually looks like just a formality. But with what Luke's described there, it needn't necessarily be the creative dead end that I was starting to feel it was, and I think Gary certainly felt very disheartened by that, and I share that up to a point. Hearing Luke speak, it's made me feel a little more hopeful of us not getting the same old. What do you think?
My slight issue is, I think, because he's friends of Russell, I wondered if he's just going to be slightly, if he had Pete Tigers, right, he'd be like, would he be just slightly worried to not fully go for it because he might be worried about maybe upsetting the apple cart or upsetting someone else? My issue is, I think what we said about the Ghost team, that's actually somebody I always in my head thought, if we had a new team, we had a new producer, or if I was the producer, for example, I always have these ideas in my head. I thought I would have gone to the Ghost team and say, right, Ben Wilbound, do you fancy having a go at being Doctor Who? Because I think he might not be a bad Doctor Who, or at least test for it. And then say to the rest of the cast, right, I want you all to write a few scripts. Because I think it's that idea of coming in from outside, not really giving a toss what anyone else thinks, and just crashing through it and actually going, do you know what we're going to do? We're just going to write some stories and kind of very quietly forget about stuff that happened. Like, we're going to quietly forget about the Doctor he was half human. We've just quietly forgotten about that, haven't we?
Before.
And I think that is actually, I think it's not bad, but I just do feel we're still too connected to the Russell T Davies legacy.
A lot of people felt that way about Stephen Moffat succeeding Russell T Davies in 2010, that he'd be afraid to do anything too stark with it. And indeed, Charlotte, the 11th Hour does feel a little Russell T Davies-ish, but within 2 or 3 episodes, Moffat's vision for the show really does start to establish itself really quickly. And by the end of Series 5, despite the fact it's a similar pattern in the way it's delivered, those 13 episodes, the structure's the same, it feels like a very, very different show. So I think it's obviously because they felt they came after one another quite quickly. I mean, we've got several people in the live chat saying none of the above, it's all too soon. People really don't want this show back anytime soon. Even dedicated Doctor Who fans feel it needs to be off for a minimum of 4 or 5 years. Yeah. I'm not suggesting any of this is going to happen before, never mind 2028. I don't think we're going to see this show before 2029, 2030.
I agree.
Yeah, I was saying, I think 29 earliest at a push.
Yeah, and just add to the Moffat thing. Yeah, I can remember there were those comments at the time, but I think the difference with Moffat compared to Pete is whenever you hear Moffat speak, you can tell he's got a very different way of thinking to Russell. Yeah. He's got a very different outlook on sort of writing and the character and how he sees the show. It's like he's recently did the one he's recently just done, which is about an hour and a half, where he sort of is very sort of honest about his process of writing in that sit down. He's just done that interview, and you can tell that he's fundamentally sort of different to Russell in lots of ways. And I think I get where Mike's coming from, because I think with Pete, you can tell in some ways. I think he's very aligned with Russell. I'm sorry, if you look at Lucky Day. Yeah. if you look at how he handled the social aspect and the message aspect of the episode,
It was very worrying.
It was not subtle. It was very hammer. It was very like, here's what I'm saying. And that's what Russell was sort of doing a lot as well.
How much of Pete and how much of Russell was that?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah.
Well, it's not just
Good
that,
point.
to be fair. It also was in the Chibnall, and I know Chibnall's come out and said he rewrote a lot of those scripts. But I'm sorry, when it keeps happening with this writer in different ways in his episodes, I think you have to start to say, yeah, maybe bits of his stuff got rewritten. I'm not denying that.
Yeah.
But what's his inclination naturally? And I think that's the worry we've got.
I think
But
the litmus
I
test
might-
for his inclination is those Blu-ray teasers. I think those are the closest to what we can see at his.
I would agree.
I think you can't judge. It's very unfair, but like I watched 42 the other day and really enjoyed it, and I was like, that's not a knock on, and I thought it was shit at the time, and I really enjoyed it again. So I was like, but I can't judge Chibnall on that because how much is Russell going to have involved? It's like Russell is notorious for rewriting scripts. So
Do you
was
think we're
Moffat,
trying to
so
read
was
the tea
Chibnall.
leaves a little with some of this, Luke? And until somebody sat in that chair making their own decisions, it's next to impossible.
I think you've got to be yes, sir. Thanks, sir. 3 bags full. So at that point, if people want a job, people want money. If Russell's giving you a script and he's like, right, cool, this is what I want from it, X, Y, Z, blah, 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 they're going to be right, cool. And Russell's going to come in right all over it. Unless your name's Stephen Moffat, then he won't touch it, obviously. Then I think they're just going to be on the party line. I think, policies before parties at that point. I think you're going to have to just go for it. And I think until we have him there and he can be like, right, cool, I've paid my dues, and then we kind of see what he wants to do with like Peter Davison and with Janet Fielding with the Daleks, and the Blu-ray stuff is like, oh cool, that's more in line with his vision of what Doctor Who is, and you can kind of see it bleed through.
Really quickly, as far as look, I adore all of these Blu-ray trailers. I mean, you sit there and you they're amazing. But I think dealing with the classic series honestly like raises anybody's game. And his remit for those trailers is you have to produce something that's completely in line tonally and character-wise with that series, which is not New Who. And so I think, of course, they're going to be different. I think the truer, as Charlotte was mentioning, the truer measure of what I think he's going to bring to the next iteration of current Who is looking at his New Who stories. I think you have to divide it out because I think that he writes completely different for the classic as he would for the new series. And I personally I can't wrap my mind around the concept that somebody who is such a close ally of Russell, who by his own admission on that graphic you just had up, comes running anytime Russell calls, that if he gets it in, you don't think that Russell's not going to have some kind of influence on what he does? I mean, come on.
Not at all. That's a very cynical view to have. That's it.
Russell's moved on completely.
Okay.
The thing is with Lucky Day, and Luke mentioned it brilliantly when he was talking about 42, is that Russell had this amazing ability to want to rewrite every script apart from Stephen Moffat, because I believe Moffat had it in his contract saying you're not going to rewrite my scripts when I do them for you. So but it's no different to Robert Holmes getting the script for the Brain of Morbius and Robert Holmes and going, oh fucking hell, what do I do with this? I don't like this at all. Right, I'm going to completely rewrite it. So rewrote it and totally pissed off Terrence Dicks, hence the name Robin Bland. The scenario it goes on between writers all the time when one is in a position of higher authority. Russell may have got Pete McTighe's script and gone, Well, it's not doing what I want it to do, so I'm going to completely change the ending.
I think what you're shining light. I think what you're shining light on, David, broadly. I think what you're shining light on is the fact that none of this is actually new to television production whatsoever, and that regardless of whose name ends up on the front credits or even on the top page, the cover page of a script, quite more often than not, they are an accumulation of people's time, ideas. To make ideally the best possible series you can. I mean, I share what Lucas said there. Russell is out of the picture. Russell T Davies, his influence will not be felt over whatever comes next at all. I think, as we saw before, he puts as much distance between the production and him as he possibly can. I think he's got even more reason to do that now, precisely because of the things that Gary mentioned. So I agree with Luke on that front, but I also can't help to come back to the same conclusion as you have, Charlotte, in that, unfortunately, in this circumstance, with those two individuals, Pete McTighe's sensibilities, his preoccupations are kind of in line with Russell T Davies, and so that does worry me. So I'm dead in the middle about all of this. As somebody who's enjoyed Pete's previous work a lot, The Pact was fantastic. Wentworth was brilliant. The Australian drama series set in the women's prison. If you've never seen it,
really
you need to watch that. It's absolutely fantastic. This man is extremely talented at characterization and plotting and casting. According to James Sutton in the live chat, he also discovered and plucked Margot Robbie from obscurity and cast her in Neighbours when he was running Neighbours between 2006 and 2011. This man has an eye for talent. And he's got a great track record. He's also a massive Doctor Who fan. But again, the cards will fall wherever they fall. We've got a further quote from Pete McTighe here to finish on. He says, at the stage where I am, I had been creating my own shows for a while, and I kind of want to do that. I need to concentrate on my own shows. But one exception to that rule is Doctor Who. That was Pete McTighe speaking this year in January at the Gallifrey 1 convention in LA.
Dan, I think you've just mentioned something really key and vital there when you talked about Neighbours, when you talked about when you were show running Neighbours, when you talked about Wentworth and his other projects. He was not constrained then by, as in writing for somebody else. He was leading the projects then, and he has proven that he is a fantastic writer. And he has led fantastic productions. You know, I love Neighbours. All right, I could. Neighbours has been part of my life for years. Okay, but when, and this is I think may address Gary's, Charlotte's, and your slight concerns. He was constrained when he was writing for Russell for The War Between and also Lucky Day, and also for Chibnall, because he was having to write to a brief. Okay, and a set of situations that he probably would, but as a writer would have gone, okay, it's Doctor Who, yes, I'll take the gig, and yes, I'm writing for Doctor Who. But the problem is when you're working to constraints, your creative control is very, very limited.
Yeah,
and you have to essentially, he said it before in one of the slides, toe the party line. So that would have had an impact when he's done the DVD Blu-rays. He's had a lot more creative control, and he's been able to sort of work within a sort of like, okay, it has to be relevant to season 21, right? Okay, so we're going to go back to the warehouse. We're going to have Trine. We're going to have the Daleks. We're going to have this lovely play between the Doctor and Tegan to the point whereby we want them to come back for more. Okay, so watching Wentworth as I did and loving every moment of it, I feel that we would get the Pete McTighe of Wentworth doing Doctor Who rather than the Pete McTighe constrained by Chris Chibnall and Russell T Davies and their various sort of briefs about how things would be.
He's written under a showrunner recently for Discovery of Witches, and his Discovery of Witches episodes are really good. So
yeah,
but his Doctor Who episodes are a bit okay. So there you go.
Yeah, I think so. I do need to go. I think all my stuff I've said is just a possible worry, because I agree we won't know until we see that if he gets it, until he actually physically produces content, to put it bluntly. That's when you're going to see it. And the other thing is, I think BBC Studios could potentially, and this is why I'm not as down on the BBC Studios angle at all, because I have seen that when BBC gets its stuff together, and usually it's the studios end of it, if I'm being honest, they can make very good dramas. Death Valley, Ghosts, and the other Bennett sister, I know that's Bad Wolf, but that's under BBC Studios. When they've got the right talent in the room, they can produce. So if possibly whatever showrunner we get in the future, if they potentially got studios as that creative base of writers, of actors, of directors, that's a positive. I actually think that's good. Like I said, I just think with Pete, I've got possible worries, and none of that will be answered until I actually see if he gets this position and what he does in it. I completely agree with that, with what you're saying, lads. I just think right now the show has suffered from having not very similar minds at times, very similar ways of thinking, and I think we need to get away from that. So that's the other part of Pete's name, which makes me a little bit worried. But like I said, none of that we're going to know until we see him in this position fully. But I think it's good that we can debate it, we can have different thoughts. And that's what this period is going to be. It's going to be speculation. It's going to be different sort of arguments or people having those sort of discussions, and that's good. So it's been lovely, but I do have to go.
Good night, Charlotte. Thank you. We'll speak to you next time. I think that we're very fortunate to have Deadline, if not invested in talking about Doctor Who, Mike, then certainly mindful that there's a waiting audience for the show. There's a fan base for the show, historically at least, that is really, really invested in the fate of this brand, and that we have been somewhat beleaguered and battered around by the storms lately. Deadline is one of the most reliable platforms, outlets that covers any entertainment, whether it's the big screen or the small screen. And I get the impression they're on our side, asking the right questions to the right people and shining the light into the right corners at the right times.
Yeah, I'd go along with that. Yeah, so I do sort of like dip onto Deadline quite a bit as well, and they come up on my feed as well. And I think, yeah, you're right. They will kind of like go, we know what our audience want to read, and they're not going to maybe speculate too much, but they're going to give you the facts. But yeah, you're right. I never thought about that being on our side. I do feel that way, and yeah, we are in this sort of weird situation where we are there's a lot of speculation, and because the way the internet is, we can find out the tiniest bit of information at the 11th hour, and then just piece it all together. But yeah, I think, Deadline is definitely one that I'm making sure keeps popping up every now and then so I can get any information whatsoever. And I do still think Russell was in with the BBC, and I think they were waiting for the report to come out, which is why he was kind of timing it roughly about the same time. I think there's something in that.
I think the timing with Russell, if I'm being mega cynical, I don't think it was anything to do with the BBC's report. I think a lot of this was timed. Everything we've seen playing out over the last 4 or 5 weeks, I think a lot of it has been timed because Russell T Davies has been gone from Doctor Who for quite a while, creatively and emotionally. This was unfinished business for him. He was just waiting it out. And we first reported on Russell T Davies being gone nearly a year ago now. It was late
October.
August, early September. It was October. But we first started hearing about it, before then. The acrimony had set in, and the impression I get is that it would have been such bad publicity in isolation for a man of Russell T Davies' standing in the industry that they waited until Tiptoe was ready to launch.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, it's probably more Tiptoe thing, wasn't it? Yeah,
they knew that would go down better. I think that if, let's put it this way, the success of Tiptoe, and I didn't watch it, but it was broadly successful. The success of Tiptoe will have done a lot to dull his own pain of that failure with Doctor Who. And I think it would also say to within the industry, anybody who might be looking at with the things that we've observed, Russell T Davies has clearly lost his touch with Doctor Who, but has he simply lost his touch with everything? The performance of Tiptoe would be seen to reassure Channel 4, the BBC, anyone who would look to employ him in the future, indulge any more of his silly ideas, that there's still an audience for his crap. So
I think it was a professional. I think it was a professional courtesy, which is, to not release the news until after Tiptoe had finished.
Yeah,
and I think that's a really nice thing that the BBC did.
For all I know, David, that's always been done in the media. It's just that now we have so much blanket coverage that we can perhaps see the joins in a way that we couldn't then.
Probably, but I just think there's a right way to act and there's a wrong way to act, and I think that was very much the right way to act professionally, just to keep things professional between the two, obviously. And one day, I'm sure it will all come out when the NDAs run out. But I'm
when
sure,
the collection sets.
Yeah.
I'm actually, David, waiting for one of the reasons. I mean, I have no interest in reading his book because I think that it's going to be an extremely kind description of the last couple of years. I'm waiting for, as Luke just said, when the NDAs run out and the first behind the scenes book comes out, tell all, take my money for that.
Yes, I'm looking forward to reading that.
Yeah,
we're still. It'll be Eccleston first, won't it? Be like, fuck Russell, fuck Julie, I'll have them. Come to Manchester.
We have been here at Type 40 Live now for quite a long time. We've been saying the writing is on the wall with this. I'm more convinced than ever that this is simply going back to BBC Studios. I've changed my way of thinking about some aspects of that in light of our conversation on this edition of the show. Thank you, Luke. I'm also mindful of the things that Charlotte's mindful of, and how Gary, how you feel about it, and how worn down a lot of us are. Obviously, we're a few years away from any of this, any new Doctor Who being screened at all. I think the nearest we can expect them to start filming anything will be 2028, and I think even that is probably a little previous. But I remain, as I have been for a long time, and I believe I was the first commentator to say this confidently through our reliable, trusted sources here at Type 40. I have no reason to believe any differently now than I did then. Pete McTighe will be the next showrunner of Doctor Who. We'll see when the announcement comes. That could be some way away. The tendering hasn't even been officially put out. The invitation to tender hasn't officially been put out yet with any window, and that is likely to remain open for a minimum of 6 to 9 months. But as far as I'm seeing, this is a formality, and this has all the hallmarks of a big old fix. That's how I see it. But let us know what you think out there in the comments. We have had a reminder that there is that CBeebies show on the way for the younger viewers, a Doctor Who spin-off there exclusive to CBeebies, presently in production, we were told, again by Deadline. This is coming to us from Blue Zoo, and I think this is set to screen. Initially, they said it was going to be screening in the autumn of 2027. So again, it's a long way off. Animation, they can make quite a lot of it in a big batch over an extended period of time. And it's often meticulously timed. Heaven knows Blue Zoo are experts in delivering this kind of content. So I can't imagine that it would be delayed, but maybe it will. But that's still the date, the only date that we've got, autumn of 2027 for that. We shall see how that affects us in the fandom. And
I think the rumours that Chris Chibnall's writing it. I've just genuinely, have you heard the rumor that Chibnall's
in
writing
crayon?
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wait, are you kidding? Are you serious?
No. Saw on X. Someone leaked something to do with it, and I was like, oh, okay.
I have a quick question directed mostly for Dan and Luke, because I know that you guys have the industry ties and the industry background. And Dan, as you said earlier, when somebody in the position of the BBC Studios CEO comes out and makes the statement that he did, that carries a lot of weight, that he wouldn't make that kind of potentially embarrassing comment.
You're going to look, if that comes to nothing, he's going to look a total tit.
No, okay, so let's, all right, I believe you 100%. That being the case, what is that statement, once it's made and once, as we've been discussing, gives the idea now that, okay, maybe this is like a fait accompli, what does that do to the, I guess, the work and the enthusiasm of any other company that might wanting to pitch on the tender, if there's this attitude of, what's the point? The fix is already in. Why should I bother crafting a premise for this?
I think it suggests, Gary, that Deadline were absolutely on the money when their litmus test, the result of their litmus test was that independent production companies, it's not that they wouldn't touch it with a barge pole, but right now that the brand has been that devalued and it comes with that many problems, and there's that heavily reduced appetite with the general viewing public, it'd likely be too much of a gamble for many of them to seriously put together a proposal and to prioritize it over any other projects that they might be either.
But that's not, I see what you're saying, but I'm talking more about, would they consider it just a waste of time because like the decision's already been behind the scenes effectively made?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both. I think it's actually they would consider it's a waste of time, as you said. But I think actually another thing is, I think if I was a producer and I had a company, I'd be worried about the restrictions that we'd be putting in. You know, the having to have the message out there and having certain things that we can and can't do. And I'd sit there and think, well, I don't want to tender to a program that you're going to restrict me on that may end up actually just being awful. You know, I think that would put people off as well.
And you don't have the IP. You don't have the IP as well. It's a production company.
Yeah.
A statement like that is essentially asking Charlie Brooker and whatever production company he's with out for a fight at this point, I reckon. Get Charlie Brooker in. There we go.
Come on, Charlie.
We're in it to win it. Come on, Charlie, beat us.
In a city sumo with Chaz and Dave, it's a big sort of like car park with a chalk mark. To borrow Alan Partridge's programme idea to Tony Hares.
Tom Fussell is in it to win it. BBC Studios, they're making a pretty big swing. Tom? Oh, dear, Tom. Yes, he does look rather smug. They all look quite smug, don't they? The BBC simply said this: Doctor Who remains an important part of the BBC, and this tender underpins the BBC's continued commitment to Doctor Who, ensuring audiences will enjoy the show for years to come. If that's not a word salad, Gary, I don't know. I don't know.
You know, I just think, you know what? I think that personally, all of us here on this show, we need to rise to the challenge. We need to craft a premise in the tender that they can't possibly turn down. And
I don't think we got the money for that.
See what happens.
Have you got that first slide again where he says with gusto?
Gusto.
Gusto. Yeah, they're a food recipe company that send out 500 food recipes to people per month with a lot of food. So if they're bidding with Gusto, does that mean you get free chicken breasts as well?
Oh, sounds good to me.
I think I've done the adverts for Gusto.
That will be David. That will be the next big villain in the new series. It'll be the Gusto.
Yeah.
The question is then, is it all tragic that we'll never get to see? You know, if HelloFresh could have bid for Doctor Who, we'll never find out.
I've definitely done the adverts for HelloFresh. I know that. I think I definitely did HelloFresh.
We'll never know now.
With HelloFresh, I think they've been discriminatory over their food partners. Personally,
on Simmers, there's loads of them out there.
I think
although they do a nice Mongolian beef, Gusto, I have to say.
Tonight is
Can you tell that Charlotte's gone? Because I can.
We need more lawnmower chat in this. We've had a
Oh, I
severe
love
lack of
lawnmower.
it.
Hey, I was at Trent Bridge the other day and I saw this fantastic lawnmower. It was amazing. It was a ride on. And
Thanks,
I said
Luke.
I stopped the groundsman and I said, "Oh, that's sexy." And he just went, "Oh no, this lawnmower costs 85 grand." And it sort of rolls the pitch. It's got different settings. It can do cross cuts. It can do vertical cut. It can do all these different cuts.
Calm
and I
down.
was just sort of like, "Oh, this is brilliant." And it had that real sort of petrol 2-stroke oil smell to it as well.
I'm officially worried about you. David.
Delightful.
Just look the look on Mike's face, thinking, "What the fuck?"
What about joining?
Welcome to Type 40 After
Type
Dark.
40, not lawnmower 40.
It was a very Doctor Who type contraption, actually. It was sort of like, yeah, there's been some Time Lord tinkering with this lawnmower.
Most of the comments in the live chat have been along these lines, that Russell T Davies still sucks, and Pete McTighe's not got many fans here on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, or X either. I think people are still very much working this through and somewhat lashing out. And obviously, you can do that. You can do that here. It's absolutely not a problem.
Do you know what? You can be really eloquent, but sometimes it's those shorter ones that really doesn't. Isn't it? I think RTD sucks. That's really tickled me.
Yeah, it's somewhat of a running theme here. People are very suspicious, and fandom has been worn down by this. And so I think that, regardless of what they're doing with the IP, fandom definitely needs some sort of a rest and reset. Farside believes that the showrunner position simply needs to end that entire setup. Maybe it will, that will be reinvented, but obviously there's always a gaffer. That's the fact of reality. Whatever the setup, whatever the system, it's the same in sport, the sweeper system and all that. There's always got to be, at the end of the day, there's always got to be a gaffer. Someone's got to call the shots. The book's got to stop somewhere. So, again, we'll find out that in due course as well. And none of that will be our problem. It's the outcome that we've got to judge things on, of course, and whoever works on it, whichever team of people, should be permitted to work in the way that they feel most comfortable to deliver the best outcome for the viewer would be. That's what I'm concerned about. Us sat there on the sofa watching it. Where are the pictures of this lawnmower? Demands Delin watching on YouTube.
Sorry, I'm not.
That's actually where I thought David went. I actually thought he went to get pictures.
Yeah,
right on with headlight is the way to go, according to Richard Brooks. So we have experts chiming in too. There's always an expert on every topic.
Definitely, yeah. I'm under a strict NDA. I wasn't
David's
allowed to
favorite
take
movie is The
photos.
Lawnmower Man.
I've never seen it actually.
Oh,
So
okay.
if Pete gets the job, does that mean we'll get Margot Robbie as the Doctor?
Yeah.
As much as I don't believe in a female doctor, maybe I could make an exception for
Yeah.
Robbie.
Margot Robbie or Sydney Sweeney, either one I'm fine with.
Okay.
Margot Robbie.
Margot Robbie every day.
Horrendous. So she needs a nice career boost. Give her Doctor Who instead after Wuthering Heights.
I couldn't agree more. The BBC has revealed that its plans to issue the Doctor Who tender will simply be sometime this year, and that further details will be announced in due course. That's the current phrase, isn't it? That's always used, in due course. So, in other words, don't hold your breath. Don't hold your breath. What do you think? Let us know. Instagram and X at Type40 Doctor Who, or email us Type40doctorwho at Outlook.com as always. And what are your thoughts on BBC Studios, on Pete McTighe? It is starting to look more inevitable than ever. The things that people are saying, the things that people are not saying. Where is it all going to end? And what is your preferred date for any kind of resuming of Doctor Who on television? Let us know. It could be that you think all of this is... It could be that you think all of this is a load of old bollocks and we all need to get a life and stop thinking about all of this, because it'll happen when it happens, and that there's no truth in any of this, and it's just a collection of circumstances and people spitting out lots of hot air, piss and wind. That's reasonable too. We'll have to wait and see. We'll all find out.
Don't talk about Luke like that.
We'll all find out together, Gary, won't we? We'll all find out together.
Your name?
Chris Eccleston.
Where are you from?
Salford.
Your occupation is?
Unemployed Time Lord.
What was the best thing about playing Doctor Who?
The response of children like yourself.
Were you nervous about playing the Doctor?
Yes.
What did Christopher Eccleston bring to the role of Doctor Who?
These.
Does the Doctor fancy Rose Tyler?
Absolutely.
If you had Doctor Who as your specialist subject, how well would you do?
Terribly.
And yes, that's that again from us. Good to be back. Good to be back. I wish the skies were a little clearer, but you know, we'll see where we are by the end of the year.
It's hot enough as it is outside.
Yeah.
All this. Come on, Dan. We've got great
I'm
weather.
just looking at deep blue sky at the moment as it gets dark. It's sort of deep blue, dark sky.
There's
Well,
no
we've had that
people.
fire in Manchester, haven't we? So it's been
Oh,
smoky. I
fuck no.
genuinely thought it was a barbecue on Friday night, but it's just the mountain was on fire.
Oh, mate, have
15 miles away.
Have you had a sort of like craving for frazzles? Because
I love bacon fries. I'm a bacon fry guy, not a frazzle guy.
bacon fries.
Scampy fries, I love.
Scampy fries. Yeah.
Have you ever mixed? Sorry, this is a sidebar. Have you ever mixed scampy fries and bacon fries and had like surf and turf?
Yes.
Game
I
changer.
did it after you've tried it, but after you said it on the stream a while ago, and my God, it's like heaven. It's
I need to
amazing.
try that. That sounds good.
Yeah, after game changer.
It does
Manchester's
sound really
just
good.
full of smoke. Like it's horrible. So kids setting fireworks off up the moors. It's
Some
not nice.
idiot setting off firework. Yeah, that's
Well,
what it was.
this is how
wasn't
they're
it?
occupying themselves with no Doctor Who on the telly to watch or to talk about. We've got it all covered here. Of course, we have. We'll take in what we can, and yes, we are tracking the things that people say, the things that people are doing in those little corners, to bring you as best we can the best coverage of the wilderness years, the tendering age, as we possibly can. If you want to have your say, you can reach out to us as ever through our social medias. Send us a message from the future, Instagram and X at Type 40 Doctor Who. As always, come and join us in the Type 40 Facebook group. 10 years on the clock over there and counting. And yeah, it's an ideal place to come and vent your spleen about Doctor Who disappearing for however long and how we've ended up where we are. The various players, you can let loose on them on the wall over there, and the potential involvement of Pete McTighe, BBC Studios, or anybody else. You can speculate too about those production companies which you'd like to see take over the show. And of course, it's getting to that time again. It's only been 4 or 5 weeks, but it's kicking off people's fantasy picks for the next Doctor. As always, there's always lots of conversation about that in the Type 40 Facebook group. Send us a feedback of any kind, of course, as ever, through SpeakPipe. So any suggestions, predictions you may have about any of the topics that we've covered, or you can suggest further topics too for us to look at here as Type 40 Live moves forward. Always plenty to talk about, as long as you've got something to wet your whistle in between and something to chew on. There's lots more to check out in the playlists, the live chat in the playlists. There, I don't know whether I'm coming or going. Over in the playlists, you can get all of the previous editions of this show. So there's our deep dive news reports, our rolling coverage of the state of the Whoniverse. And my God, we've been in and out of every state going over the last 5 years, 5.5 years, something like that. There's our focuses on special stories or seasons or creatives and actors. Lots of those there too in the playlists, as well as all of those various live streams that we did, rolling with the punches when the news came in about the state of Doctor Who just a few weeks ago. So thank you to everybody who supported all of those. And of course, at the Type 40 podcast there, at all major podcatchers, and our home feed at type40.podbean.com. This is Type 40 Live on Rumble, X, YouTube, and Facebook, with another one in the books. We've been going for nearly 3 hours with this, but there was quite a lot to say and a lot to look at. More happening than you think, although things have been generally quieter, Gary. I think the Doctor Who fandom, in all fairness, I think we do need this time to sort of to work things through.
Oh yeah, no, it's been, I mean, it really has been therapy in a way. Everybody giving, letting us vent different perspectives. Yeah, and I'm glad that we're doing it without not a lot of, pointless like speculation or anything like that. Everything we talk about is based in fact or provable stuff, because that's what, Dan, that's your standard. And I think it makes for great shows, and we still have a long way to go.
Yeah, no jumping at shadows here, and we don't go looking for outrage to manufacture. There's the conversations that we have here at Type 40 Live, they're always done with the best of intentions to move things forward for us and for the fandom generally, and not to fixate too much on the things that make us the most angry.
I want to throw my entire enthusiasm to Farsight's suggestion of Anna de Armas as the Doctor and Sydney Sweeney as the companion. I would watch that 24/7.
And the TARDIS it doesn't look like a police box anymore, but it's a jacuzzi or something like that. That'd be good.
You wouldn't be able to see after that, Gary. You'd be blind.
My glasses would be fogged up.
I don't think he's on about your glasses, lads. Jesus Christ.
Oh dear, yeah. Glasses, you end up blind. Yes, thank you everybody for all the comments there. YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X. It's great to be back and good to see all you faces and names. Yes, things may get a little erratic between now and whenever, but we're back covering Doctor Who as best we can and where we can find it. We'll be back next time for the 300th time. In fact, it's yet another milestone edition of Type 40 Live coming right up. A monster live stream next as we head towards the end of this. This is our 10th season of the show as well. What are we going to be talking about next time?
Wow.
We caused quite
Doctor
a lot
Who.
of upset with the 200th show, Luke, and maybe we will this time, or maybe we'll surprise everybody. It'll all be very nice and lovely news, and it won't upset anybody at all, and nobody will make any rude jokes or anything like that.
It's the lawnmower special.
What am I going to do?
300
then?
lawnmowers
I can't make
ranked
a
by
rude
David Milling.
Yes.
Yeah. We can try and find out
It's-
every time a lawnmower's been in Doctor Who. So let's do that, guys. Let's just scour the episodes.
Yeah, let us know. I mean, people in the comments might enjoy tracking all of that.
Where do you stand on streamers? That is the.
I like a strimmer. I like a strimmer. I prefer a
petrol or electric.
Petrol.
Oh,
I like
he's
the smell
not
of
kidding
petrol.
A hedge
either,
trimmer as
folks.
well. We don't. Maybe any. No, if you had garden implements, then we could just be anything. Then we start going. Well, what about scissors? You can cut grass with that. No, lawnmowers. I'm putting the foot down.
I am fond of a good hoe as well.
What about
That's a whole other topic.
Armor again, aren't we?
Yeah.
Look, well, I'm glad we're talking about landscaping rather than manscaping. I think you could get into a rather eye-watering accident if you put a strimmer anywhere near there. But let us know in the comments.
Can you get this podcast sponsored by Manscaped, and we can have a different conversation then?
Well, they do sponsor a lot, don't they? I've noticed that. Maybe we'll work on it. I mean, after they've watched this show, maybe not. But who knows? Who knows? Yes. Look, be here next time for the 300th show, because it wouldn't be the same without you on Rumble, X, YouTube, or Facebook. The one way you can make sure you're up to breast as to when we're going to drop that, when we're going to be doing all of that, is make sure you hit the cloister bell to get all the notifications. Check you're still subscribed, because YouTube doesn't like us very much, and they play all sorts of games with us here at Type 40 Live. So go there and check it out and smash that cloister bell. Funky says, David, don't let my sister near any grass-cutting devices. She destroys them all in her attempts simply to use them. There we are.
Now, one reason everybody needs to tune in, Dan hasn't announced this yet, in honor of the 300th show, because it's 300, we're all going to dress like the movie 300 in our gladiator outfits.
Oh my God.
Just like the movie 300. We're going to go meta.
I did that in uni. I dressed as because my boy was in shape in uni. Jesus, my boy lived off a diet of vodka and substances. So your boy was in shape, like
scampi and bacon fries. Yeah,
it was just gym, vodka, and other stuff. So your boy was cut. He was in shape, and I used to go to every fancy dress party. I was dressed as a Spartan, or I was in some kind of vest. So that feels very much at home.
Good God. You never know where we're going to go on this show, especially as we get towards the tail end. Thank you, everybody who's joined us, of course. To Charlotte Shields, who made it. I think Pumpkin Time has been extended. We've got increased opening hours there for Pumpkin Time, but of course she'll be back as well next time. To David Milling, I'm glad you could make it back too, mate.
Thank you.
I'm glad you've had a good week and you survived the heat wave as well. Mike, second stint with us. Hope you
absolutely loved it again, guys. Absolutely loved it.
But it was a bit different this time, wasn't it? With me and David on.
You're up on your lawnmower speed now.
That's what I'm checking out. I'm going to be better on you guys. I'll know more lawnmower stuff. Actually, the thread's been quite funny. The people have been like, someone's like, was it? Oh God, what was the one? Actually, almost had me in tears. Where was he? He's gone. Oh, Patrick Mower would make a great doctor.
Oh God, that's someone had got to go there, haven't they? Someone's got to go there.
Mower is in
that tickled me too much.
Would he be like the Qualcast 500?
So you're gonna bone up on Qualcast and Hover and all the various different brands, and we'll be testing you at a later date. Yeah, the classic Flymo, all that kind of thing. So cheers again, Mike. Good to have you back, mate.
Thank you.
And hopefully it won't be too long before we catch up again. Luke, same to you, buddy. Congratulations, sincerely congratulations on your success on the stage. We know you came away with yet another award, and everybody involved.
It's easy, this directing thing's easy, isn't it? Never done theatre before. Win the entire thing. It's easy. This. No, it was good.
Modesty.
He learned everything he knows about directing by watching the Charlie Brown Christmas special and how Charlie Brown directed the Christmas play.
I love Charlie Brown. Merry Christmas, Charlie Brown. That's my favorite ever Christmas cartoon.
Were you making all the signals, Luke, like that and like that and all of that?
The chat will be very happy to know that during the performance, it's past watershed now. I can swear, can't I?
Yeah.
I was fucking hammered.
You went for the Oliver Reed approach.
I was fucking, because we had to, what was it? You can clearly see, casual, smart up the top, Doctor Who pajamas on the bottom, in case anyone's giving it away. Because massive virgin, clearly. I think it was a competition, so they had 20 plays. It was 5 a night, and we were group 4, so we were on with 4 different plays. Then we were the 4th one on after the interval, and we were like the second or third week or whatever it was.
Right at the end.
Yeah, we were right at the end. And we performed the Thursday, the Thursday, Saturday, and then the final was on the Sunday. I was fucking ratted for the 3 days. I was in a right old pickle. And the cast I had were brilliant. Rob and Maria. Rob was in Hooligans and everything else I fucking make. Maria, I've never worked with her before, and she was an absolute joy. And it was good. Helping set up the stage after you've had a few jars is quite tricky, especially when it's a competition as well. So, but no, it was good. It was good. So it all goes to them. But I had a great time from what I can remember. So
no, I'm pleased to hear it. I guess somebody will have videoed it at some point. Yeah. Cheers, Luke. Great to have you back, and of course Gary Akers too. I could sense. I know that some of the talk on Russell T Davies. It is quite depressing, isn't it? How we've arrived where we have. I think that the fandom are gradually getting used to the new status quo, and we're going to have a long time to get used to it too, aren't we? To find a new normal with how we cover Doctor Who and how we celebrate it, how we watch it. I mean, it got to the point where I hate to say it, particularly during the Chibnall era, Gary, I was dreading each new season of Doctor Who starting. Yeah. I ended up there after a lifetime of loving the show, and there were a hell of a lot of frustrations with the last couple of years in particular. So at least we're spared some of that. It's time to go back and sort of rewatch the things that we enjoy, or maybe give a second chance to the things that could have passed us by, or to do plenty of reading, or whatever we've been putting off in the time the Doctor Who's been continuous production.
And not grudgingly either, because I mean, there's so much great stuff, out there to embrace and revisit, reanalyze, which we'll be doing, on upcoming shows. And because it's just Doctor Who, when it's good, just provides like a bottomless well of great stuff. So I look forward to continuing to dig into it all with
gusto.
With gusto.
With
Sponsored by HelloFresh.
Take it full circle there. Yeah, we always do everything with gusto here. What was his name? Tom, or was it Bob Tom or Bob Fussell, whoever you are? If you want gusto in spades, head back to Type 40 Live. Next time, show 300 is on the way. Wouldn't be the same without you. Don't miss this. This is Type 40 Live, where we always have the time. If you have the space, have a great weekend. Thank you for the comments and your company. We'll see where we are next time. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
No star.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye, Duggan.
Okay.